Chapter 1846. In the depths of the wilderness deep in the mountains and forests, the Mo family was temporarily hiding in this place. Since the Qin army stationed a large number of troops in Mulberry Sea City, the Mo family had to hide in the wilderness. The environment was too remote, but they were happy to be safe. Knock, knock. Duan Murong, who had fallen asleep, suddenly opened her eyes when she heard the knock on the door. Under the faint moonlight, she could clearly see the blurry figure outside the door. "It's the middle of the night." Duan Murong frowned and narrowed her eyes. Out of caution, she was secretly on her guard. Creak. After the door was gently pushed open, Dustless's apologetic face appeared. He said embarrassedly, "Miss Duanmu, I'm really sorry for visiting so late at night, but I'd like to trouble you to take a look at this lady." Anyone who barged into a lady's room in the dark of the night would misunderstand. "It's okay. Come in for the time being." Duan Murong glanced at the girl in Dustless's arms and nodded slightly. The tiredness in her eyes was gone. She, who was known as the medical sage, could tell at a glance that Shirlan was poisoned. "You've done well to suppress the poison in her body." After carefully feeling Shirlan's pulse, Duan Murong praised, "This poison is quite strange. I've never seen it before." "Miss Duanmu, you must be joking. It's all thanks to your 100 pill." Dustless shook his head and then asked, "If I'm not wrong, this is the poison of Yun Zhongjuan of the Yinyang family." Yun Zhongjuan. Hearing this, Duan Murong's eyes flashed with a strange light. She seemed to have heard of Yun Zhongjuan's name. The Yun Zhongjuan who is responsible for refining elixirs for King Yingzheng of Qin. "Yes, it's him. He's also the owner of the Mirage." Dustless nodded and said, looking at the pale Shirlan, he guessed that she had rashly entered the Mirage because she was worried about her brother. Although Shirlan's actions were overly reckless, thinking about it, it was also human nature. Dustless could also understand. Their only family member had been taken away by Yun Zhongjuan, and her life was in danger. Anyone would be anxious and worried. Moreover, Yun Zhongjuan was extremely vicious. He even experimented on some people in the Mirage. Detoxifying the poison is not a problem, but the spiritual herbs required are really rare. After taking her pulse in detail, Duan Murong felt a headache coming on. If it was an ordinary poison, it would be fine, but the problem was that Yun Zhongjuan was the culprit. This guy refined all kinds of poisons and elixirs, and his formulas were extremely rare, let alone detoxifying them. "Tell me about it." Hearing this, Dustless smiled indifferently. In fact, there were many different kinds of elixirs in one place, the Mirage. In order to let Yun Zhongjuan concoct the elixir of immortality, Yingzheng had harvested a large amount of medicinal herbs and placed them in the Mirage. "I do have other spiritual herbs in stock, but I'm missing one thing." Duan Murong glanced at Dustless and sighed. The emerald blood jade leaf flower is a legendary spiritual medicine that can bring the dead back to life. It's priceless. "I see." Hearing this, Dustless was not worried at all. Instead, he was full of confidence and raised a finger. "At most one day, before sunset tomorrow, I will definitely bring the jasper blood jade leaf flower over." "Are you comforting me?" Duan Murong questioned with a suspicious look. If it were other spiritual herbs, it might be difficult, but this jasper blood jade leaf flower is ready-made. Dustless smiled mysteriously. He had heard of the jasper blood jade leaf flower before. Moreover, the Grand Master of the Confucian school, Sun Zi, had the jasper blood jade leaf flower, and it was the best one, the 9 Springs jasper blood jade leaf flower. When he returned to the Sage Manor, it was already the next morning. When Dustless planned to visit Sun Zi, he did not expect this robust old man to take the initiative to come to him in a hurry with an extremely strange, flattering expression. "Little friend Zichen, I heard that you have obtained a supreme treasure, the Yellowstone Heavenly Book. Can you lend it to me for a look?" There was no such thing as a wall that did not have a crack. Although Chu Nangong had delivered it in the dead of night, a large number of people had their eyes on the Yellowstone Heavenly Book. During this period, Dustless had secretly killed many people. "Welcome, Sun Zi. Please forgive me for not going out to meet you." Seeing this old man looking at him with eager eyes, Dustless felt helpless. The Yellowstone Heavenly Book was too important to him. Just as he was about to refuse, Dustless swallowed the words that were about to come out of his mouth. This is not bad. I also want to see what exactly is inside that incomparably wondrous book. The Yellowstone Heavenly Book was an ancient text. Dustless felt pressured to read it. Only a sage like Sun Tzu, who knew about the past and present, could understand the principles behind it. No problem, but I have a condition. Dustless smiled and agreed straightforwardly. There is no harm in saying it. Sun Tzu patted his chest when he heard this, looking as if he had something to say. I have a friend who is seriously injured and needs the jasper bloodjade leaf flower, so... Dustless stopped and looked at Sun Tzu, who seemed to be in a dilemma. His meaning was self-evident. How does this brat know that I have the jasper bloodjade leaf flower? Sun Tzu was puzzled. After calculating the gains and losses, he finally gritted his teeth and said, "Little friend Zichen's friend is my friend. Coincidentally, I have a stalk of the jasper bloodjade leaf flower. I will hand it over to you later. But this Yellowstone Heavenly Book, take it." Sun Tzu nodded and agreed. Wu Chun directly threw the Yellowstone Heavenly Book to him. However, after Senior Sun Tzu has studied the great Tao in it, you must tell me the full text without changing anything. Moreover, you must return the Yellowstone Heavenly Book to me in the end. Of course, of course. Sun Tzu hurriedly promised. This was not a big problem. Although it was painful to lose the jasper bloodjade leaf flower, its value was not worth mentioning compared to the Yellowstone Heavenly Book. Although the jasper bloodjade leaf flower was rare in the world, there was more than one stalk. On the contrary, there was only one Yellowstone Heavenly Book in the world. Chapter 1847. Dustless had expected that Sun Tzu would agree to his terms. Although he only agreed to let him use it for reference and would return in the future, it was already a great honor. Looking at the history of hundreds and thousands of years, how many people had seen this peerless book? Seeing Sun Tzu's satisfied expression, Dustless chatted with him for a while. Little friend Zichen, since you're able to defeat Enyang School's young Arbiter Ming and Luo Net's slave of 6 swords, your strength makes me feel ashamed. Putting away the Yellowstone Heavenly Book, Sun Tzu stroked his beard emotionally. You're too polite. Dustless waved his hand and said humbly, I was just lucky. Lucky? Sun Tzu rolled his eyes and chuckled silently. Defeating slave of 6 swords might be luck, but Enyang School's young Master Ming was definitely not easy to deal with. On that day, Master Sun had once secretly observed the battle between Wu Chun, Li Si, and the others. Truthfully speaking, he felt extremely comfortable in his heart when he saw Li Si's face that was filled with rage from embarrassment, yet just happened to be unable to flare up. Zichen, you must pay attention to Li Si. Sun Tzu reminded him out of kindness. The current Li Si is no longer the Li Si who studied under me. In his heart, there is only the Qin dynasty. After becoming the prime minister of the Qin dynasty, Li Si was afraid that Han Fei would threaten his position and was jealous of his talent. Therefore, he framed Han Fei with false accusations, which led to Han Fei's death in prison. It was worth mentioning that Han Fei was Li Si's classmate. Of course I know that. Dustless nodded. Li Si was indeed talented, but he was too narrow-minded and cared too much about his position. Creak. The half-closed door was gently pushed open and a boy servant walked in respectfully with a brocade box. Zichen, this is the jasper bloodjade leaf flower. Sun Tzu opened the brocade box and instantly revealed a plant that emitted spiritual energy. Seeing the slightly absent-minded Dustless, Sun Tzu said proudly, to be honest, this jasper bloodjade leaf flower, to be more precise, should be called 9 Springs jasper bloodjade leaf flower. Its medicinal effects are even stronger. Thank you, teacher son. Dustless accepted the brocade box and thanked him. I'm still in a hurry to save that friend. I'll visit you another day to thank you. In the forested mountains outside Mulberry Sea City, Dustless hummed a little tune as he walked forward. He seemed to be in a pretty good mood as he had obtained the 9 Springs bloodjade leaf flower effortlessly. Furthermore, Sun Tzu had even promised to tell him the contents of the Yellowstone Heavenly Book. This was not a loss. This brat is obviously a high-ranking official. Don't let him escape. Boom, boom, boom. At this moment, the ground in front of him suddenly trembled on a large scale, and he could also hear the sound of fighting. Could it be that someone discovered the M.O. family's hidden stronghold? Dustless raised his eyebrows and immediately sped up. This road just so happened to lead to the M.O. family. That pretty boy looks a little familiar. A group of fierce-looking mountain bandits were surrounding a handsome young master. This young master's expression was a little nervous, and even the sharp-eyed Dustless could see the cold sweat on his forehead. There were a few corpses around, and they were probably this young master's guards. Could it be him? After carefully examining this young man for a moment, Dustless suddenly felt that this young man was a little familiar, and he was almost exactly the same as a person in his memory. After thinking about the time, he was immediately sure that it was him. Young Master Fu Su? After lowering his head in silence for a moment, Dustless unexpectedly revealed this person's identity. In the original work, young Master Fu Su was once surrounded by a group of mountain bandits, and the people who saved him were Sun Zi and Tianming. But now Dustless had waited for it. If you want to complain, you can complain that you're blocking the way. Seeing this group of fierce-looking mountain bandits, Dustless's body flashed, and he turned into a stream of light and flew out. In an instant, a large shining sword appeared in his hand. Like a tiger that had entered a flock of sheep, he started a crushing massacre. Poochie, Poochie, Poochie. Every time he raised his blade, a head would fall to the ground. In just a few minutes, hundreds of bandits were slaughtered. Many of the bandits who escaped the net fled in all directions like birds startled by the twang of a bow when they saw Dustless's terrifying strength. Thank you, Benefactor, for saving us. Seeing Dustless's powerful strength, Fu Su, who was stunned for a moment, thanked him emotionally. Benefactor, what is your name? Where do you live? I will definitely visit you to thank you in the future. There is no need to go through so much trouble. These mountain bandits were just blocking my way, so I just took care of them. Dustless only glanced at Dustless before leaving him with his back. Even without Fu Su, these mountain bandits would probably come out to rob Dustless. What a strange person. Fu Su's thick black eyebrows frowned together. Although Dustless did not have a surface identity, but he had an impression of the scholarly disciple's clothes. Boom, boom, boom. After the massacre, the quiet sky started raging again. A large group of fire cavalry from the state of Qin swarmed over, and the general leading the way was Great General Meng Tian. Young master, please forgive me for being late. Seeing that Fu Su was safe, Meng Tian heaved a sigh of relief. If anything happened to Fu Su, the head on his neck would also be removed. You are guilty. To think that there are so many bandits in the middle of the wilderness in broad daylight. Your position as the great general is too secure. Seeing Meng Tian kneel, Fu Su did not give him a good face and loudly reprimanded. If not for that benefactor, I would have been cut into pieces by those mountain bandits. I am guilty. I deserve to die. Hearing this, Meng Tian broke out in cold sweat. He secretly glanced at the drifting figure in front of him, and his eyes suddenly lit up. Young master, I know that guy. He is Zi-chun from the Confucian school. Chapter 1848. He really is from the Confucian school. Hearing this, Fu Su suddenly understood and said emotionally, I'll go to the Confucian school soon. His name is Zi. Wait. Fu Su's eyes shone brightly as he suddenly asked, I heard that the Confucian school disciple who took the Yellowstone heavenly book from Li Si is also called Zi-chun. Yes, young master. Meng Tian did not deny it. She then looked at the corpses on the ground and said with certainty, a young master who is so strong that it's unreliable. There's probably only that Zi-chun in the Confucian school. No wonder he could embarrass Li Si. He is indeed a genius. On the surface, that Zi-chun is definitely not more than 20 years old. Such a genius should be used by the empire. Fu Su's eyes shone brightly, giving off a brilliant light. Young master, that doesn't seem possible. Meng Tian laughed bitterly and explained the grudge between little Saint Zhuang, Li Si, and Dustless. How can he blame others for falling into his trap? After listening to Meng Tian's narration, Fu Su did not sympathize with Li Si. Instead, he sneered. If he wasn't overconfident, he wouldn't have failed. Li Si is the one who looks down on others. How can he be willing to accept others? That's true. Hearing Fu Su's cold voice, Meng Tian could only shut her mouth. If she spoke for Li Si now, she might be in trouble too. Shanghai's Little Saint Manor is the holy land of all scholars. If I have time, I have to pay my respects. Fu Su's eyes were filled with longing. But, young master, seeing Fu Su's expression, Meng Tian carefully said, Young master, forgive me for being blunt. Last time, Lord Li had a big conflict with the Confucian school. Although he was fine in the end, I suggest, enough, I know what you want to say. Do you think that those scholars will assassinate me? Fu Su snorted and waved his hand calmly. I appreciate General Meng's good intentions, but I have an expert helping me this time. It's fine. Expert? Hearing this, Meng Tian looked at Fu Su in surprise. Then, she decisively shut her mouth. Fu Su was furious, so it was better talk less. The Confucian school's stronghold. Miss Duanmu, I brought the item. Dustless rushed into Duanmu Rong's room without stopping. The first thing he saw was Duanmu Rong carefully taking care of Sherlon on the bed. He could even smell the bitter smell of medicine. So fast. Duanmu Rong looked at Dustless in astonishment. Dustless had only disappeared for a few hours, and he had already brought back the legendary elixir, the Jade Blood Jade Leaf Flower. Duanmu Rong didn't dare to praise his speed. Like I said before, I have stock. Dustless handed the viridescent Blood Jade Leaf Flower to Duanmu Rong before pouring himself a cup of tea. He then looked out the window and asked, Speaking of which, where are the Snow Maidens and Masterban? They don't seem to be here. Upon hearing this, Duanmu Rong suddenly pulled Dustless over. Seeing that there was no one around, she whispered, I don't know the exact situation either. Everyone was called over by Zifang Ovary? You mean Zhang Liang? Dustless was even more confused. He asked, when did he come? I remember that he said that as the third master of the Confucian family, Zhang Liang would do his best to avoid suspicion and reduce the number of meetings with the school of Mo. Why did he suddenly come? Did something big happen? In Dustless's heart, Zifang, or Zhang Liang, was also not a good person. Of course, he wasn't a bad person, but he also had designs on the 7 mansions of the Azure Dragon. Therefore, whether Zhang Liang was good or bad, it didn't matter to Dustless. In this world, anyone who had designs on the 7 mansions of the Azure Dragon was Dustless's enemy. There was no distinction between good and bad. Anyone related to the 7 mansions of the Azure Dragon would fight to the death. It was that simple. What did he want from the school of Mo? Dustless asked calmly as he put down the teacup in his hand. I don't know the details. After glancing at Dustless, Duanmu Rong then glanced at the secluded room in the distance and said, It seems that everyone is discussing some secret plan. I guess it's to deal with the Qin state. Deal with the Qin state? Miss Duanmu, although you look strong on the surface, sometimes you are too naive. Dustless shook his head slightly and sighed. What do you mean? Duanmu Rong frowned and looked at Dustless. With some dissatisfaction and anger, she said, Do you think they're hiding something from me? I don't know if they're hiding something from you, but Dustless's eyes narrowed slightly as he analyzed wisely. They must have something they don't want you to know. If they're really discussing how to deal with the Qin state, is there a need to hide it from you? Moreover, you are one of the commanders of the school of Mo. They deliberately excluded you from this circle. Isn't it to hide it from you? Dustless's eyes were silent as he asked calmly. Looking at Duanmu Rong, whose cheeks were a little stiff, he guessed in his heart, maybe I have implicated her. Everyone in the school of Mo knew that Duanmu Rong and Dustless had an extraordinary relationship. Maybe they just wanted to hide it from Dustless, so they avoided Duanmu Rong. However, Zhang Liang, you are too self-righteous. When the world can be hidden from me, especially when you're doing it right under my nose. How ignorant! Dustless suddenly sneered, and then his left eye changed rapidly, and a purple reincarnation Sharingan appeared. Tomb of Samsara Border Prison. Dustless's shadow was not only powerful in attack, but also in spying no one could find it. Chapter 1849. There is no doubt that the power of Tomb of Samsara, border prison, is unparalleled in the world. Whether it is a pure attack or other aspects, it is an unparalleled existence. For example, in the current investigation, only people who have Rinnegan and 6 paths of immortality can realize the existence of Dustless's shadow. It is completely naked cheating. Even if he punched Zhang Liang, no one will notice. Maybe this kid will think that it was a ghost who punched him. You smile so slyly. Seeing Dustless's evil smile, as if he found a fun toy, Duanmu Rong felt uncomfortable. Slyly? Maybe, but it doesn't matter. It is normal to use special means in special times. Dustless replied disapprovingly. Perhaps he is used to being thick-skinned. He doesn't feel that he is too much. Suit yourself. You can go out for a while. I'm going to treat this little girl. Duanmu Rong ordered him to leave and immediately pushed Wu Chen out without any trace of politeness. Blood Jade Leaf Flower. 9 Spring Blood Jade Leaf Flower. After opening the brocade box, Duanmu Rong was surprised to find that this Blood Jade Leaf Flower has 9 leaves. Its efficacy is several times that of ordinary Blood Jade Leaf Flower. Staring at the sleeping girl, she said, "It seems that your position in Dustless's heart is not comparable to ordinary people." Then Duanmu Rong began to prepare the necessary medicine to treat Sherlon. As for Dustless, he was silently peeping. "I want to see what tricks you're going to play." With a sneer, Dustless controlled the shadow to approach the room where Zhang Liang and the people of Mo family were talking. "Everyone, what do you think of my plan?" In the room with a slightly depressed atmosphere, Zhang Liang looked at the people of Mo family seriously. Their expressions were a little heavy, and their eyes were flickering. It seems that they are making a very difficult decision. Zhang Liang's plan is to cooperate with Wei Zhuang's countercurrent sand. "Everyone, I don't need to say the current situation. I think you all know that we have reached the edge of the cliff. The power of Qin Kingdom is far beyond our imagination. If we're not careful, we may be crushed." Zhang Liang continued to persuade them. "Please don't forget that although Wei Zhuang used to be on the opposite side of the Mo family, he is also a Korean. Like me, he is a noble in Korea. Wei Zhuang's close friend, Han Fei, was killed by Li Si. There's also a grudge between them. No wonder this kid has a secret meeting behind my back." Through the news from the shadow, Wu Chun sneered and scoffed at Zhang Liang's plan. No wonder he wanted to hide it from him. As everyone knows, Dustless and Wei Zhuang had a grudge against Wei Zhuang. Several of Quicksand's experts were all killed by Dustless. Zhang Liang was probably afraid that Wu Chun would strongly object if he knew about it. But Wei Zhuang is related to Juzi's death. Gout Jianli took a step forward. He didn't like Wei Zhuang and said coldly, "If it weren't for Wei Zhuang and Juyu Qinya, our mechanical city wouldn't have been breached in just one day. A lot of Mo family disciples died. This is all Wei Zhuang's masterpiece. He is fully responsible." "That's reasonable." Old Man Ban, Teacher Su, and the Snow Maiden nodded in agreement. "Everyone, I know what the death of Mo family's Juzi means to you all." Zhang Liang smiled slightly. His calm demeanor seemed to indicate that he had anticipated what the Mo family would say. He analyzed, "But don't forget that it was Wu Chen's one-sided statement to say that the giant was killed by the Qin soldiers. Until now, there is no conclusive evidence to point out that the Qin soldiers or Wei Zhuang killed the Mo family's giant. Do you think it is possible?" Zhang Liang's eyes shone with shrewdness. He said wisely, "Someone deliberately killed Mo family's Juzi and framed Wei Zhuang and the Qin soldiers. This Zhang Liang, letting him live is indeed a disaster." Wu Chun, who was eavesdropping, couldn't help but be stunned. He had long heard that Zhang Liang was extraordinarily intelligent. Now that he had seen it, he really lived up to his reputation. The death of the Mo family's great son was actually not a soldier of the Qin state or Wei Zhuang. The main culprit of all this was actually Dustless. "Mr. Zhang Liang, your words seem to point to Senior Dustless." Gunya frowned as he looked at Zhang Liang. Even though he did not explain in detail, Most of the people in the Mo family's mechanical city had been attacked, and almost all of them had been injured. Even those who had not been injured had been killed by Qi Lian's 1,000 Knights of Doves. Other than Wei Zhuang's Lu Sha, the Qin soldiers and Dustless were still active. If Zhang Liang's guess was correct, and the culprit was not Lu Sha or the Qin soldiers, then there was only one person left, Dustless. Zifeng, although the Mo family is grateful that you saved us, I hope that you won't speak carelessly. Master Ban suddenly said unhappily, if it wasn't for Dustless, the Mo family would have been destroyed. Everyone knows this. That's right. Dustless has no reason to harm us. The honest Big Hammer chimed in. On the other hand, Gao Jinli was silent. He suddenly thought of something and had some doubts about Wu Chun. However, when he saw that everyone believed in Wu Chen's appearance and that he didn't have any evidence, he tactfully shut his mouth in the end. A fox will eventually reveal its tail. Gao Jinli's expression didn't change, but he had made up his mind to observe Dustless closely. After thinking about it carefully, Gao Jinli suddenly realized that some things were too coincidental. When Wu Chun appeared, a series of unlucky things started to happen to the Mo family. No matter if it was a coincidence or if there was a hidden agenda, it was worth paying attention to. Moreover, Gao Jinli also understood that what Zhang Liang said was an out-and-out fact. The death of the Mo clan's great son was completely fabricated by Wu Chun alone. Whether or not there were other shady scenes, only God knew. Chapter 1850. That D***** Min Zhang Liang. He's not easy to deal with. Doesn't he know that the smarter he is, the faster he dies? He doesn't have any self-awareness at all. Dustless stared at Zhang Liang. His vigilance against him increased exponentially. Although Zhang Liang's strength was average, his intelligence was shockingly high. No wonder he had helped Liu Bang defeat Xiang Yu and establish the Han dynasty. It was undeniable that he had some skills. However, no matter what he shouldn't have done, he shouldn't have set his sights on the 7 mansions of the Azure Dragon. In this way, he'd become Wu Chen's enemy as well. Under that terrifying strength, what could a so-called scheme count as? Brat, look at how excited you are. Let me teach you a lesson first, so that you can soothe your mouth. Dustless looked at the eloquent Zhang Liang and could not help but smirk. He controlled the shadow to sneak up beside Zhang Liang. Bang! At that moment, Zhang Liang was ambushed like never before. He fell flat on his back and was caught off guard. Who ambushed me? Zhang Liang's face darkened as he roared angrily. Ambush? Hearing this, the Mo family members were speechless. In their eyes, no one had seen anyone ambush Zhang Liang. Instead, he had fallen to the ground for no reason. Zifeng, are you feeling unwell? You fell on your own. No one ambushed you. You know the Mo family's teachings. Ambushing is not something we would do. Old Man Ban looked at the embarrassed Zhang Liang strangely. He did not understand what this guy was trying to do. He had fallen on his own, but he was blaming others for ambushing him. Was he crazy? I didn't see anyone ambush him either. Gunya nodded. He was also puzzled. You guys too? Zhang Liang looked at the Mo family members. Everyone nodded in unison. None of them had seen anyone ambush Zhang Liang. They had not even seen anyone make a move. This is really F***ket up. Hearing this, Zhang Liang cursed in his heart. He had never believed in ghosts, but now he could not help but be suspicious. Forget it. Zhang Liang remembered that he still had something important to talk about, so he could only make light of the small matter. He rubbed his sore buttocks and saw a bench on the left. Zhang Liang walked over and sat down. Everyone, what are your plans? Are you going to... Bang! Unexpectedly, before Zhang Liang could sit down, the bench automatically moved away. Plop! Zhang Liang's butt missed, and his body fell to the ground. After his face twitched, it became even more unsightly. Don't tell me this is an accident. After being played twice in a row, Zhang Liang finally could no longer maintain his calm. He said coldly, everyone from the Mo family, if you don't want to form an alliance, you can just say so. Why must you continuously humiliate me? He serves you right for daring to expose me to the end. Continue to wait for my revenge. Dustless, who was hiding in the dark, had an unconcealable smile on his face. Zhang Liang's two embarrassing moments were naturally caused by him. Who asked this guy to point the spearhead of Yindan's death at him? A moving chair? Is it Master Ban's latest creation? Master Fan of the Xiang clan of the Chu Kingdom exclaimed, "The Mo family is indeed a famous family in the world. They can even make such a strange thing." Perhaps others did not see it just now, but Master Fan saw it very clearly. The moment Zhang Liang sat down, the bench seemed to have grown legs and moved away by itself. This has nothing to do with me. Seeing everyone looking at him strangely, Master Ban hurriedly explained, "How can an old man like me make such a thing? Do you think I have nothing better to do? I don't have so much time." When he found that everyone was looking at him suspiciously, Master Ban wanted to cry, but had no tears. He said that he had done nothing. "Enough. I'll just stand," Zhang Liang said in a cold tone, with a gloomy face. Being kicked by someone could be treated as the work of a ghost or an illusion. However, being tricked by someone else again, anyone would feel depressed. She was kicked and fell, and that was all she needed to do. What was worse was that he did not even know who the murderer was. Zhang Liang suddenly felt that he was a tragedy. In order to prove my innocence, I agree with the Mo family and Wei Zhuang. Originally, Master Ban had resisted the idea of forming an alliance with Wei Zhuang, but now, in order to explain himself to Qin Bai, Master Ban was ready to risk everything. I also agree. Gao Jianli stood on Master Ban's side, unexpectedly choosing to form an alliance with Wei Zhuang. As for Snow Lady, she did not say much. Everyone knew about her relationship with Gao Jianli, so she decisively supported Gao Jianli. Sigh. In that case, I can only go with the flow. With a sigh, Daoji also decisively stood next to Master Ban. Obviously, he also agreed to form an alliance with Wei Zhuang's quicksand. Now, only Big Iron Hammer and Teacher Su were left. Even if they refused, it would be useless. The votes were 4-2, so forming an alliance with Wei Zhuang's quicksand was a done deal. Mo family, you will regret this. Seeing this, Dustless, who was watching in the dark, withdrew his shadow. The alliance between Wei Zhuang and the Mo family was actually expected. The only surprise was that they did not expect the alliance to happen so early. In the original work, even though the Mo family and Quicksand had countless grievances after Zhang Liang's matchmaking, in the end, the two sides colluded and Quicksand went from an enemy to an ally. This was not a coincidence. It was inevitable. If the Mo family continued to be isolated, even with the help of Confucianism and Taoism, it was destined that they would not be able to survive alone. Cooperation was going with the flow. Chapter 1851. Zhang Liang, Gao Jianli, Wei Zhuang. I can't believe such a weird combination is actually together. Through the observation of the shadow, Dustless could clearly see the relationship between the three of them. Wei Zhuang and Zhang Liang were fine since they had been colluding with each other for a long time, so Dustless was not surprised. On the other hand, Gao Jianli's behavior made Dustless feel rather strange. Gao Jianli seemed to have sensed that something was wrong. "I'll find a suitable opportunity to kill all of you." Dustless's expression gradually turned cold, and his eyes glowed with a demonic bloodlust. He was not a kind person to begin with, and he had always been clear about his grudges. He would definitely kill anyone who had a grudge against him, especially since Zhang Liang and Wei Zhuang were scheming against the 7 mansions of the Azure Dragon. How could Dustless let them go? As for Gao Jianli, it seemed like he wanted to investigate the death of the Mo family's magnate. Since their relationship was so deep, Dustless could only send Gao Jianli to heaven to meet the Mo family's magnate. Time flew by, and in the blink of an eye, 3 days had passed. On this day, many guests came to the Mo family's stronghold, and Dustless happened to be there as well. In the past few days, Dustless often returned to the Mo family stronghold. With his speed, it was only a matter of seconds. As long as he left the Flying Thunder God Sorcerer on Duanmu Rome, he could be summoned at any time. Wei Zhuang's quicksand. This time, no one stopped the people who rashly barged into the Mo family stronghold because the leader was Zhang Liang. Behind him were Wei Zhuang and the other members of Quicksand. Qi Lian, Bai Feng, and the rest were all there, as well as the eerie Black Qilin. Mr. Zhang Liang, please invite Quicksand over. At this moment, Dustless was the first to speak. He stared at Zhang Liang and said with a smile, "Could it be that you want to take my head?" Dustless's sudden words made the atmosphere very awkward. "I'm not here to fight with you." After a moment of silence, Quicksand's boss Wei Zhuang replied calmly. It was worth mentioning that after Wei Zhuang's demon sword, Shark Tooth, had been destroyed by Dustless during the battle at the Mo family's mechanical city, Wei Zhuang had stolen Gunnia's script. Now, he was using a decent-looking wooden sword. "You have to be able to defeat me first." Dustless disdainfully curled his lips. He could not intervene in the matters between the Mo family and the Quicksand. After all, he was just an outsider, not a disciple of the Mo family. Even if the Mo family suddenly decided to join the Qin Empire, Dustless had no right to intervene. "Ah!" A seductive laugh came from Qi Lian's mouth. She smiled sweetly and asked, "Mr. Dustless, you destroyed Lord Wei Zhuang's shark tooth last time. Don't you plan to compensate for it?" "Compensation?" Dustless frowned slightly and looked at Qi Lian. Then, he said lazily, "I'm all alone in this world. Firstly, I have no money. Secondly, I have no power. I'm a pauper. If you want me to compensate, you can only take my life. However, when you come to take my life, I won't just sit there and wait for it." Dustless added, "Princess Red Lotus, Qi Lian, Brother Dustless, from now on, we're all on the same side. There's no need to be so calculative. Leave the matter of Wei Zhuang's sword to me." Zhang Liang saw that there was a strong smell of gunpowder in the air and hurriedly tried to smooth things over. If this continued, both sides might start killing each other again. "You're a smiling tiger. You're the one who caused all of this. Now, you dare to pretend to be innocent. Indeed, scholars are the scariest when they're shameless." Seeing Zhang Liang's sad and regretful appearance, Dustless felt a strong sense of disgust for him. He couldn't help but ridicule him in his heart. "Zhang Liang, this guy. You should just go and be a movie king. If you didn't collude with Wei Zhuang, how could you have ended up in this situation? Our Quicksand has no objection to Zifang's words. I'm just afraid that someone will really get angry." Qi Lian gently pursed her rose petal-like red lips. Her tone was very enchanting. She was like a fairy, giggling continuously. However, her eyes were filled with a cold light. "There are still many classes in the Sage Manor this afternoon. Everyone, I'll take my leave first." Dustless glanced at the members of Quicksand one by one. Then he glanced at Zhang Liang, Gao Jinli, and the others. Then he disappeared into the wilderness alone. "Master Ban, why did you hide the news of your alliance with Quicksand from me?" Duanmu Rong's sullen tone spread. The members of the Mo family were slightly embarrassed. Master Ban, who was questioned by Duanmu Rong, had a face full of misfortune. "Why didn't you ask so many people? Are you making things difficult for an old man like me?" Old Man Ban smiled bitterly in his heart. Staring at Duanmu Rong, he could only reluctantly explain, "Miss Rong has been busy treating that little girl recently. We hid it from you to prevent you from being distracted." "That's right." Big Hammer and the others immediately scrambled to nod, fearing that Duanmu Rong would catch them red-handed. "Is that so? Then shouldn't I thank everyone?" Duanmu Rong's cold gaze swept over the commanders of the Mo family. She also understood the current predicament of the Mo family. To a certain extent, she could understand the actions of Old Man Ban and the others, but they forgot the consequences of doing so. It may be a good thing to temporarily advance and retreat with Quicksand, but have you ever thought that we may lose another important ally? The Mo family abandoned Dustless and chose Quicksand. Hearing this, the members of the Mo family suddenly fell silent. "The fish is what I want. The bear's paw is also what I want. I can't have both, only one." Zhang Liang smiled faintly and replied with a classic Confucian answer. This was normal. Wanting to have a foot in two boats was tantamount to a dream. Abandoning one of them was inevitable. Chapter 1852. Mr. Zhang Liang, forgive me for being blunt, but I don't think your words are appropriate. Duanmu Rong looked at Zhang Liang calmly. She had some understanding of the origin of this sentence, but Zhang Liang had completely distorted its meaning. This paragraph came from Mencius. The general meaning of the original text was that justice was more important than life and advocated sacrificing one's life for righteousness. Mencius was kind by nature and believed that everyone has a heart of shame and evil. People should maintain their kind nature and strengthen their daily cultivation and education. They should not do anything that goes against etiquette. In short, the person who was abandoned should be the synonym of evil. Could it be that in Mr. Zhang Liang's eyes, Dustless is more evil than Wei Zhuang? So we should abandon Dustless and choose Wei Zhuang? In the face of Duanmu Rong's questioning, Zhang Liang just frowned and did not speak. In fact, in Zhang Liang's eyes, Wei Zhuang was indeed more trustworthy than Dustless. What he said just now was his true thoughts. Dustless's identity and origin were unknown. It was impossible to tell whether he was a friend or foe. It was only natural that he should be abandoned. At least Zhang Liang knew Wei Zhuang's background, while Dustless seemed to be hiding in a fog. It was difficult to see his true position. Miss Duanmu, there's no need for you to care about such things. I'm not deliberately targeting anyone. The reason why I recommended Lu Sha to everyone was to unite and deal with the state of Qin. As for being hostile to Wu Chun, that's even more groundless, Zhang Liang argued wittily. Even if he was hostile to Dustless, he would not say it out loud. Groundless may not be without reason. Leaving such a sentence, Duanmu Rong left with an ugly expression. Although she knew that the alliance between the Mo family and Quicksand was forced by the terrible situation, it was a sudden alliance. Even Duanmu Rong was somewhat against it, let alone Dustless. After all, in the Battle of Mechanical City, a large number of disciples of the Mo family died because of Wei Zhuang. At this moment, in another direction, above the endless sea, the gigantic mirage was moving slowly. It was similar to a sea test, but it was not a real voyage. It was just testing the performance of the mirage. This ship is ridiculously big. I clearly killed that old man, Gongshu Qiao. How can this mirage still be activated? I remember that I even destroyed his heart. In a certain elegant room, Dustless was lazily admiring the cherry blossoms in the courtyard. Beside him stood two peerless beauties. Although both of them had cold faces, they were still pretty good. It was the moon god and great Xi Ming. Gongshu Qiao turned himself into a mechanical puppet. But how did you appear on the mirage? The moon goddess looked around and saw the carefree Dustless. She said with confusion, "The elusive mirage has been in the sea for the past few days. Navigation in the surrounding sea is forbidden. Don't tell me you flew here. TSK, you are indeed the moon god. You are indeed wise. Your guess is pretty close." Dustless looked at the moon god with a chuckle. Immediately, he pulled Great Xi Ming's right arm and opened it. A special symbol appeared on the snow-white arm. This is the Flying Thunder God Warlock. You can treat it as a spatial coordinate. Even if you're at the end of the world, you can instantly meet someone with my Flying Thunder God Warlock. It is not accurate to say that it is flying. This is a method of spatial movement. Dustless smiled. The Flying Thunder God Warlock was indeed a very convenient ninjutsu. Such a magical skill. Great Xi Ming and Moon God looked at Dustless in shock. This guy was simply the synonym of omnipotence. It seemed that there was nothing that he could not do. Why did you come to the Mirage? After all, Moon God was also a guardian of the Yin-Yang school. Thinking of their current location, she said uneasily, "This is the Mirage. Yun Zhongjun, Xing Hun, Young Xi Ming, and other experts are all on this ship. I need you to help me complete a task." Dustless let out a heavy breath and said coldly, "Those idiots from the Mo family actually joined forces with Wei Zhuang. They are really digging their own graves. I will tell you the location. By then, the Yin-Yang school will eliminate Wei Zhuang. It would be best if you can eliminate Zhang Liang as well." "Aren't you from the Mo family?" Great Xi Ming asked in surprise. Dustless was too evil. He actually wanted to kill him. "Who told you that I am from the Mo family? If I am from the Mo family, I will definitely not join forces with Wei Zhuang's Lu Sha and Zhang Liang. These two also have their eyes on the 7 constellations of Azure Dragon. Dustless rolled his eyes and snorted. Immediately, he said in a deep voice, I have a good relationship with Duanmu Rome from the Mo family. Snow Girl is also somewhat familiar with me. As for the others, I don't have much connection with them. But even if I do, no matter who they are, no matter what force they are from, anyone who dares to snatch the 7 constellations of Azure Dragon from me will definitely die. Hearing Dustless's murderous tone, the Moon Goddess and Great Si Ming looked at each other and lowered their heads at the same time. If we directly attack you, you may be exposed. Wei Zhuang and the Mo family have just formed an alliance, and the Yin school is looking for trouble. This is too much of a coincidence. Zhang Liang is smart and cunning. He will definitely see through the existence of a mole. Great Si Ming frowned worriedly. She and Dustless had already done that, so it was normal for her to be worried about him. This is very simple. Dustless smiled disapprovingly and said calmly, I've thought about this before. The Yin school deliberately sent a Black Dragon Scroll, which was intercepted by Wei Zhuang's people. With Old Ban's ability, it is only a matter of time before he deciphered the Black Dragon Scroll. He just needs to put a trap in the scroll and wait for Wei Zhuang to come to his death. Chapter 1853. Although the plan is a little rough and shallow, it's still all right. Moon Goddess reluctantly agreed. Rough and shallow. Hearing this, Dustless's eyes darkened. He stared at the indifferent Moon Goddess and could not help but feel a little conflicted. Was she praising him or mocking him? You have to be careful. Xing Han has already treated you as a sore point. Dong Wang Tai has also started to notice you. Great Si Ming reminded. Ever since she became Dustless's subordinate, she had started to call Dong Huang Tai by his name. Is that so? That brat misses me so much? Dustless rubbed his chin, then stretched his body and said casually, Let's put aside the matter of Xing Han and Dong Wang Tai for now. It's best if we can get rid of Wei Zhuang and Lu Sha as soon as possible. Those people are too much of an eyesore. With you as a hidden pawn, if they still want to live peacefully, they are really lucky. Moon Goddess looked at Dustless confidently and could not help but sympathize with Wei Zhuang and the rest. She sighed and said, The enemy is scary, but it's nothing compared to the traitor. Speaking of which, how is your recently? Dustless suddenly asked as he looked at the sky, full of cherry blossoms. Ever since she met Dong Wang Tai, her name has been changed to Ji Ru Qianlong. She is now studying the illusory sound treasure box in detail. Moon Goddess explained in detail. With me watching over her, you can rest assured. Remember, be careful of Xing Han. This brat is also very curious about you. With that, Dustless's body emitted a dazzling golden light and disappeared from Moon Goddess and Great Si Ming's eyes. Confucian School, Shaoxing Manor. When he returned from the elusive mirage, Dustless met Zhang Liang at the entrance of Shaoxing Manor. When he saw Dustless, he was overjoyed. When he saw that there was no one around, he asked, That's strange. Brother Dustless left before me. Why did you only arrive at Shaoxing Manor now? Well, Dustless pondered for a moment. He couldn't just say that he was going to discuss with the school of Yin about how to set them up, could he? The scenery of the Sang Sea is beautiful. It could be said to be a paradise on earth. I was focused on admiring the scenery along the way and arrived a little late. Dustless casually found an excuse. In any case, Zhang Liang would not be easily convinced. Since that was the case, he might as well give him a perfunctory answer. Prince Fu Su came to find you, saying that he wants to thank you for saving his life. Zhang Liang leaned close to Dustless's ear and whispered, Brother Dustless, forgive me for being blunt, but you actually saved the Empire's crown prince. This is truly shocking. I thought you would... You think I will kill Fu Su? Glancing at Fu Su, who was implying something, Wu Chan said softly, Zi Fong, although I have killed countless people, but I have my principles. If he is my enemy, I will definitely not let him off. Those who dare to plot against him would also die. Those who have a conflict of interest will also not let him off. But Fu Su was not one of these factors. Dustless would also not kill him casually. If you kill Fu Su, the Empire will definitely suffer heavy losses. Zhang Liang revealed a pitiful expression and said regretfully, "Everyone in the world knows that Fu Su is the chosen successor of Yingzheng. This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity." "So what?" "Zifang, you are mistaken about one thing." Dustless organized his thoughts and used a demarcating tone to say, "I do not belong to the Mo family. Similarly, I'm not a member of the anti-Qin forces. Whether the Qin kingdom is destroyed or continues to prosper, it has nothing to do with me." "You," Zhang Liang's deep eyes flashed with a trace of blame. These words undoubtedly showed Dustless's position. "What right do you have to talk about me?" Seeing Zhang Liang's slightly unhappy expression, Dustless laughed in his heart. Zhang Liang was also the two-faced type. It was hard to determine whether he was good or evil. Although this kid had helped the Mo family and was in cahoots with Wei Zhuang, his relationship with Li Si was unclear. Li Si even referred to Zhang Liang as an old friend. In short, in Dustless's eyes, Zhang Liang was an extremely complicated person who was inextricably linked to every faction. Let's talk about this later. In short, I feel that Fu Su has come today with ill intentions. I'm afraid that he has come to force the Confucian school to express their stance, Zhang Liang said worriedly. He was only the third head of the Confucian school. The real decision-maker was Fu Nian, and Zhang Liang was only secretly helping the Mo family. Express their stance? Dustless muttered and said bluntly, "Is this forcing the Confucian school to stand on the side of the Qin kingdom? Apart from that, Fu Su probably wants to learn from something important." Zhang Liang stared at Dustless with burning eyes and advised, "From what I see, Fu Su is also interested in the Yellowstone Heavenly Book. I guess that he is mainly here for it. So, I advise you to give it to Fu Su. Otherwise, you will be in trouble." "I'll be in trouble?" Dustless revealed a look of disdain. Zhang Liang was not afraid of Dustless being in trouble, but the Confucian school. After all, Dustless was now a disciple of the Confucian school and would definitely implicate the Confucian school. In other words, Dustless and Li Si are here to find trouble? Dustless calmly asked. His hoarse voice made Zhang Liang feel uneasy. This scourge really shouldn't have been brought into the Confucian school. Zhang Liang was filled with regret. When Dustless joined the Confucian school, he had strongly opposed it. However, his arm was stronger than the thigh, so he finally compromised and allowed Dustless to join the Confucian school. Now that Dustless did not agree to hand over the Yellowstone Heavenly Book, what if he angered Dustless and even tried to assassinate Fu Su? The little sage manor would definitely be destroyed. Zhang Liang's intestines were green with regret. Looking at Dustless's face, he was simply inviting a wolf into the house. Chapter 1854. At the end of the day, Zhang Liang was still a disciple of the Confucian school and the third head. He could not watch Dustless kill the Confucian school without doing anything. He could only continue to persuade him, "Brother Dustless, why do you care about that legendary thing? Are you sure you can understand the Yellowstone Heavenly Book? How can you understand something so profound?" Zhang Liang was not looking down on or mocking Dustless. Everyone in the Little Saint Manor knew that Dustless was strong but illiterate. It was already difficult for him to write his name in Xiaozhuan, not to mention the profound Yellowstone Heavenly Book, which was an ancient language. I won't bother Zifang this time. You're going to be disappointed." Dustless shrugged and explained, "To be honest, the Yellowstone Heavenly Book I won last time was taken away by Sun Fuzi. After he comprehended it, he will share the contents with me." You are in trouble." Hearing this, Zhang Liang could no longer keep calm and said irritably, "Martial uncle has a strange temperament. I am afraid he will not listen to Prince Fu Su. So, you should let nature take its course, Zifang." Patting Zhang Liang's shoulder, Dustless stepped into the Little Saint Manor. "When you see Prince Fu Su later, you must be careful with your words. Do not speak nonsense. Remember that you are now a disciple of the Confucian school. Every action and every word represents the face of the Little Saint Manor." Compared to Dustless, who was gloating, Zhang Liang's handsome face was as ugly as it could be. Especially when Dustless jumped up and down It gave Zhang Liang a headache. Fu Su is here. You should at least be nervous. Could it be that other than Fu Su, there is another great person? When I came back, I did not see the heavy armored soldiers of the Qin kingdom. This means that the Qin army that came to the Little Saint Manor this time is very rare. But they should all be experts. After all, that guy is the prince, the future heir of the empire. While appreciating the pleasant scenery of flowers and plants, Wu Chun asked casually, "Is he a Taoist?" "How did you know?" Zhang Liang raised his voice several times louder than before, and a look of shock surfaced on his face. If he remembered correctly, Dustless should have just returned. The moment he stepped into Little Saint Manor, he guessed that it was Fu Su's follower. How could Zhang Liang not be shocked? This is very simple. I also know that they should be from the Heaven sect of Taoism, right? The human sect is an ally of the school of Mo, so it is reasonable for their archenemy, the Heaven sect, to join the Qin kingdom's camp. Dustless calmly explained. In his mind, an image of a beautiful girl appeared. This time, there is indeed an extraordinary person who came along with Fu Su. Zhang Liang nodded woodenly. Then he said in a troubled tone, "First senior brother can deal with the Heaven sect's sect master, Xiaoming. However, her seniority is higher than mine and my two senior brothers. Only martial uncle can compete with her. It really is her." Hearing this, Dustless was enlightened. Seeing the figure in front of him, he quickened his pace and walked over. At the same time, the moon god and Great Si Ming followed Dustless's plan and ordered a group of Qin soldiers to leave with the Black Dragon Scroll. They purposely let the school of Mo or Wei Zhuang discover their whereabouts. Soon, the fish took the bait and snatched the Black Dragon Scroll away. These people from the school of Mo are so stupid. Wei Zhuang is not as good as Dustless in all aspects, but these idiots chose to abandon Dustless and join forces with Wei Zhuang. How foolish! On the peak of the mountain, Great Si Ming and the moon god stood side by side. The battle in the valley below had already ended, and the school of Mo had the absolute advantage. In less than half an hour, hundreds of Qin soldiers were killed by the people from the school of Mo and the people from the quicksand. This is human nature. In their eyes, Dustless is just one person, while Wei Zhuang is the leader of a force. Moreover, he is a noble of Korea and has a feud with the Qin kingdom. With Zhang Liang's persuasion, it is normal for the school of Mo to side with Wei Zhuang. Moon God coldly said, "It is a shame. You gave up the sky and chose to live in hell." The actions of the people from the school of Mo can no longer be described with the word foolish. No wonder Dustless refused to be the leader of the school of Mo. The doctrine of this sect does not suit him. There is a fundamental problem. It is only a matter of time before it is destroyed. In fact, as the moon god said, in the future, the school of Mo would disappear from history. Speaking of which, what did Dustless leave in the Black Dragon Scroll? Great Si Ming could not hold back his curiosity and looked at the moon god expectantly. On the 18th of next month, the first emperor will tour the east. This is the content hidden in the Black Dragon Scroll, the moon god said softly. I see. In this case, the rebels of the school of Mo and the people from the school of Mo will kill Ing Zheng at all costs. Great Si Ming's cold face formed a beautiful arc. The only difference was that it was very deadly. For the people who were against the Qin kingdom, they could not wait for the first emperor to go on a tour. In this way, they could seize the opportunity to assassinate him. Once the school of Mo knows about the content of the Black Dragon Scroll, they will kill Ing Zheng at all costs, Great Si Ming said with certainty. That is true, but it is a pity. Ing Zheng will tour the east, but not now. Their wish is destined to fail. It is just a beautiful dream that is out of their reach. Moreover, the person who will replace Ing Zheng to tour the east this time is Xing Hun. This was Dustless's plan. He would use Xing Hun to kill Wei Zhuang and the others. Then, he would jump out to be the savior and win everyone's trust. What a perfect script. Chapter 1855. Yueshin and Great Si Ming gave their full support to Dustless's plan. There was nothing they could do. Although they were still part of the school of Yin Yang on the surface, Yueshin and Great Sea Ming's relationship with Dustless could not be severed. Especially Great Sea Ming. Not only was her mind taken over by Dustless, even her body was taken over by him. As for Yueshin, she was also subdued by Dustless. In the past, the moon deity had no choice but to launch a sneak attack on Xinghan. Once this matter was exposed, the moon deity would definitely suffer. Hence, she had always been threatened by Wuqian. For the time being, she listened to everything he said and did not dare to go against him. However, as time passed, after being Dustless's follower for a while, Yueshin was shocked to find that following Dustless was not bad. Compared to Dustless, Dongwang Tai's astrology was simply too weak. Although astrology was magical, it could only vaguely predict the general situation. On the other hand, Dustless was nature-defying and could do what others couldn't. He could predict the future every time and come up with the most detailed and accurate data clues to convince others. He was countless times better than Dongwang Tai. As for his strength, it was needless to say. The mission is completed. Let's retreat for now. Looking over, School of MO and Quicksand's people were crushing the Qin army at lightning speed. Then, they hurriedly cleaned up the battlefield. It seemed like they did not want to leave any evidence behind. However, they did not know that their every move was seen by Yueshin and Great Sea Ming. That old man Ban from School of MO is also very skilled in the art of traps. He is not weaker than Gong Shu Chou. I'm afraid he will solve the Black Dragon scrolls soon. Great Sea Ming agreed. Then, the two of them turned into green smoke and disappeared with the wind. On the other side, at Xiaoxing's manor, the atmosphere was tense, especially the current head of Confucianism, Fu Yin, who was the most depressed. First, Li Si came to find trouble, and he managed to deal with it. Now Fu Su came. Fu Yin's heart was extremely heavy. He even had the thought of exorcising ghosts for peace. Furthermore, Fu Su's excuse made it difficult for Fu Yin to reject him. Ignoring the other party's identity, he had come to the Sage Manor to thank him. How could he reject him? Everyone. At this moment, a voice that everyone hadn't heard for a long time suddenly rang out, instantly attracting everyone's attention. The people who came into view were Dustless and Zhang Liang. Oomph. Seeing this, Li Si groaned and pointed at Dustless as he reprimanded. Zi-chun, how dare you? You actually dared to make the young master wait for you for an hour. This is a great disrespect. Last time, Dustless had won the Yellowstone Heavenly Book from Li Si, causing this fellow to hate Dustless to death. How could he let go of such a good opportunity? Lord Prime Minister, the guilty person is you. Dustless sneered and immediately retorted sarcastically. My Lord Prime Minister, you should understand that this is the Confucian school and should abide by the Confucian school's rules. Young Master Fu Su has yet to speak, but you speak first. Do you have any respect for the young master? You? Hearing this, Li Si's old face instantly darkened. He fiercely glared at Dustless before hurriedly apologizing. Young master, please forgive me. I neglected it for a moment. Neglected it for a moment? Lord Prime Minister, don't you know that there's a saying that a person's true nature is often inadvertently revealed? Perhaps the moment that you neglected it just now was Lord Li's true nature. Dustless continued his attack, his words causing Li Si's old face to turn red. This despicable brat. After hearing this, Li Si hurriedly knelt on the ground and secretly glanced at Fu Su. Seeing that the latter was not angry, he heaved a sigh of relief. To be honest, Li Si really did not care about Fu Su. Although this fellow was the future successor of the empire, Fu Su currently did not have any real power. In history, Fu Su was killed by this Li Si in front of him. Brat, you can eat whatever you want, but you can't speak carelessly. If a young man is arrogant, he will only fall and bleed. Li Si's eyes were sinister and vicious, releasing a light that was about to devour someone. What a joke. Seeing this, Dustless did not hide the contempt in his eyes. Naturally, he could hear the threat in Li Si's words. His classmate Han Fei was too talented and was envied by Li Si, resulting in his wrongful death in prison. All of this was related to Li Si. Although this fellow was the prime minister, in terms of bearing, he was truly lacking. Furthermore, this person was extremely narrow-minded and easily jealous. However, it was undeniable that Li Si was able to reach the position of prime minister, which meant that he had some ability. "All right, the two of you, let's stop here." Fu Su waved his hand. Seeing that Dustless was not afraid of Li Si, his face was filled with unconcealable surprise. Ordinary people would not even dare to breathe loudly in front of Li Si. Li Si looked like a cultured person on the surface, but do not forget that he had a net in his hands. In reality, he was also a person with muscles. "This brat has caused me to lose face time and time again. I have to find a chance to get rid of him." Seeing that Dustless did not show any signs of anger, Li Si's livid face slowly recovered. He hated Dustless to the core. Ever since he met this brat, he had been unlucky. Just thinking about it made Li Si feel unlucky. Especially when Li Si lost the Yellowstone Heavenly Scripture in the last competition, he was even scolded by Ying Zheng. Just thinking about it made him clench his teeth in anger. If he could give a treasure like the Yellowstone Heavenly Scripture to Ying Zheng, then his position as the prime minister would be much more stable. Chapter 1856. Li Si and Dustless suddenly engaged in a battle of words, causing everyone to jump in fright, especially the head of the Confucian school, Fu Nian, who felt uneasy. Even though he was happy to slap Li Si's face, Dustless's actions were no different from setting himself on fire. After all, Li Si was the prime minister. "You want to fight with me? I'll kill you." Under the astonished gazes of the crowd, Dustless finally sat down. His magnanimous appearance was very carefree, completely opposite to Li Si, who was so angry that the veins on his forehead were popping. Everyone looked at each other in astonishment. At such a young age, you're indeed a dragon among men. Fu Su's deep and bright eyes circled around Dustless. His face was filled with unconcealable surprise. Dustless's age was really too young. He looked to be around 17 or 18 years old, but his bearing was extraordinary. Especially when he was on par with Li Si, it blinded everyone's eyes. In this ancient era, there was a popular saying, "The people do not fight with the officials." Furthermore, the other party was Li Si, a true prime minister. In the entire Great Qin Empire, his position was second only to Qin King Ying Zheng. Although Fu Su's status was higher than Li Si's, he did not have any real power. A mere disciple of the Confucian school dared to offend the current prime minister. In the eyes of some people, Dustless was a classic example of courting death. They hoped that Li Si would give him a stab. "If not for Zichen saving me, I would have been killed by those bandits. The reason why I'm still alive today is all because of Grandmaster." Fu Su bowed slightly after he finished speaking, his expression filled with gratitude. This brat, what ability does he have to make young master think so highly of him? In truth, Li Si was rather jealous. This was the first time he had seen Fu Su address someone as Grandmaster. "You're too polite. I just saw injustice on the road." Dustless did not mind and only smiled. He had a good impression of Fu Su. Despite his identity as the future successor of the Great Qin Empire, Fu Su's manners did not have the slightest bit of arrogance. Just like the rumors, he was very gentle. "May I know where the Yellowstone Heavenly Book that Grandmaster obtained is?" Fu Su impatiently asked when he thought of the special and important aspects of the Yellowstone Heavenly Book. Dustless frowned slightly and stopped moving his lips. He really didn't know how to answer. "Let's see how you're going to escape this time. Young Master is asking you for the Yellowstone Heavenly Book. Are you going to refuse? If you dare to refuse, I have countless reasons to deal with you." Seeing Dustless's distressed appearance, Li Si felt refreshed and an unconcealable smile appeared on his face. However, this joyous scene did not last long. After hearing Dustless's nonsensical reply, Li Si's heart almost jumped out of his chest. "Well, to tell you the truth, I was attacked a few days ago and lost the Yellowstone Heavenly Book." Dustless pretended to be disappointed and ashamed, saying, "Those people are extremely powerful and well-trained. They look like men of sacrifice. I managed to severely injure one of them, but the Yellowstone Heaven book was also taken away by them. Really? Hearing this, Fusu was first taken aback and then said angrily, "You dare to rob in broad daylight. What a bastard. Li Si, what are you doing as the Prime Minister? Do you only care about enjoying your life?" "Young master." Li Si wanted to cry, but no tears came out. Looking at the shocked and angry Dustless, he even had the thought of dying. This was all made up by Dustless. In these days, he had sent people to observe Dustless and often lost him. How could there be anyone ambushing him? It was all nonsense. You dare to deceive young master. Although it is not a serious crime like deceiving the monarch, it is enough for you to suffer. Li Si's cold gaze swept over Dustless. Just as he was about to expose him, he saw Dustless's cunning eyes, and his heart skipped a beat. Without waiting for Li Si to explain, Dustless took the initiative to attack Li Si. "Young master, to be honest, a few days ago, when I lost the Yellowstone Heavenly Book, I killed one of them. Those people seemed to belong to the same organization, and all of them had the mark of spider on their necks." Wu Chen's eyes were sparkling, and his determined tone made people involuntarily convinced. After hearing Wu Chen's deceptive explanation, Zhao Gao, who had been silent all this while, lost his self-control and spat out the hot tea that he had just drunk. "Zhao Gao, do you know the organization that Master Zi Chen spoke of?" Seeing Zhao Gao's abnormal behavior, Fu Su instinctively asked. Then he said, "Such an arrogant organization. We cannot easily let them go." Zhao Gao stood up and coughed awkwardly. "Cough, cough, cough. Young master, that organization is actually a trap." Zhao Gaozhen shifted his gaze and saw Wu Chun, who was grinning evilly. Zhao Gaozhen wished he could slap him. He had indeed sent a net to ambush Wu Chun, but it had failed in the end. But, glancing coldly at Dustless, Zhao Gao coldly said in a loud voice, "Zi Chun is extremely strong." At that time, the people of the Luonet did not steal the Yellowstone Heavenly Book. "Young master, he is completely making things up. Please punish him." Magistrate Zhao Gao's official position, "Don't lie through your teeth. The Yellowstone Heavenly Book was obviously snatched away by you. Now you want to frame me? If you want to prove that the Yellowstone Heavenly Book is still in my hands, please take out your own evidence." Dustless said calmly, "This damn brat, how dare he be so arrogant?" Hearing this, Zhao Gao's cold face was filled with a bone-piercing, killing intent. He finally understood how depressed Li Si was. In the past, he thought that Dustless was only strong. He did not expect that his sharp tongue was even stronger than his martial arts. Evidence? The Luonet never needed evidence. Where could he find it? Chapter 1857. Zhao Gao's net never knew what evidence was. If they felt suspicious, they would directly capture them. If they resisted, they would directly kill them. Naturally, there would not be any evidence. Fu Su snorted heavily as he glanced at Zhao Gao with a fiery gaze. "Brat, I will let you know the price of angering me." Seeing this, Zhao Gao could only lower his head in shame. On the surface, he did not dare to show his anger. However, in his heart, he hated Dustless to the core. All along, it was their net that splashed dirty water on others. Since when was there someone so daring to offend them? The people from a Confucian faction also felt that it was a fantasy. Young Master Fu Su actually reprimanded his two generals for a mere Zi Chun. This caused the people from the Confucian faction to be shocked, and some even looked at Dustless with jealousy. What ability did this brat have to be able to hug young Master Fu Su's thick thigh? Actually, Fu Su's heart was also filled with helplessness. Even though he knew that Dustless was being crafty, he did not have a plan to deal with him. Firstly, Dustless was his benefactor, and secondly, he did not have any evidence. Instead, it was Zhao Gao and Li Si who actually dared to spy on him and even dared to openly rob him. Furthermore, they were caught by Dustless and reported back. In Fu Su's eyes, they were too useless. Everyone, at this moment, a slightly gloomy and calm voice came. which attracted everyone's attention at once, including Wu Chun, who also felt that this strange and cold voice was somewhat familiar. Actually, you only need to hand this Z Chin over to me and use the mind-reading technique to test him. This way, we will be able to find out if the Yellowstone Heavenly Book has been stolen. This voice sounded extremely young, but no one dared to underestimate it. Xing Han from the school of Yin Yang. The people from the Confucian faction all became nervous. Everyone had heard of Xing Han, one of the two great imperial advisors of the Qin kingdom. No. As soon as Xing Han finished speaking, Zhang Liang stood up to confront Dustless. Of course, it was not because he sympathized with Dustless. If possible, Zhang Liang would rather have this mysterious fellow killed immediately. However, Dustless was a disciple of the Confucian school and was wearing Confucian robes. Furthermore, he was living in the sage manner. If Xing Han found out that he was spouting nonsense, the consequences would be unimaginable. It was one thing for Dustless to die, but the Confucians would also be implicated and suffer greatly. This kid's injuries are recovering very quickly. But why did this woman appear? Dustless merely glanced at Xing Han out of boredom. His gaze was focused on the woman behind Xing Han. When he saw her appearance, his eyes narrowed. As for Xing Han himself, he was completely ignored by Dustless. After all, he was just a loser. There was nothing worth paying attention to. Wasn't she imprisoned by the Yin Yang family? Why was she suddenly released? It seems like they brought her to the Confucians to cause trouble. Standing on Xing Han's left was young Master Ming from the Yin Yang family. On his right was an unexpected person. She was known as the first extraordinary lady of the Yin Yang family, and was Yu Er's mother, Concubine Yin. At this moment, Concubine Yin was dressed in a palace gown. Her beautiful face was slightly haggard, and there was an unconcealable sadness in the depths of her eyes. She sometimes showed resistance towards the young Xing Han in front of her, but for some reason, she just lowered her head and stood silently beside Xing Han. It seems like they have reached some kind of agreement, but with Xing Han's authority, he can't release Concubine Yin. He must have reached some kind of agreement with the boss of the Yin Yang family, Dong Wang Tai. Dustless was deep in thought. Concubine Yan's sudden appearance had indeed caught him off guard. That's strange. Have I seen this kid somewhere before? Why does he look so familiar? Xing Han glanced at Zi Chun from the Confucian family in surprise. He felt like he had seen him before. The strangest thing was that his wound, which was almost healed, started to hurt again. It was extremely strange. Idiot. Zi Chun is Dustless. Dustless seemed to have sensed Xing Han's confusion and smiled without saying anything. At the same time, he glanced at young Master Ming, who was beside Xing Han, and smiled in a friendly manner. However, young Master Ming did not appreciate his kindness. She only snorted softly and glanced over. Really, it seems like this little woman is still holding a grudge. Dustless spread his hands and did not know whether to laugh or cry. Indeed, it was right not to provoke a woman. Zifang, what's wrong with that? If you don't do anything wrong, you don't have to be afraid of ghosts knocking on your door. I'm just checking your memory. Xing Han looked at Dustless and said nonchalantly, on the contrary, if you keep resisting, you'll seem humble. Ha! Seeing this, Wu Chan just laughed twice and said something shocking. There's absolutely no problem to take a look at my memory. I've always been an easygoing person, but as the saying goes, there's an order to everything. Didn't I say before that the Confucian family values seniority and seniority? So, if I were to check my memory, it would be the prime minister and the prefect of the carriage, Zhao Gao, who came first, right? You brat, don't go too far. Seeing that Dustless had dragged him into this again, Li Si was instantly enraged. How could he tolerate being ridiculed by a little brat? Moreover, what puzzled him the most was that Dustless's words made sense. It was obviously unfair to just check Dustless's memory. With Fusu's personality, he would definitely let Li Si, Zhao Gao, and Dustless come together. However, everyone had their own secrets. If Xing Han were to check his memory, wouldn't that be terrible? Chapter 1858. Zhao Gao's face turned green. He was even more concerned about this than Li Si. He could not allow Xing Han to read his mind. Otherwise, his greatest secret would be exposed. Many years ago, Zhao Gao had already pledged his allegiance to Hu Hai and even secretly planned to get rid of Hu Hai. This way, Hu Hai would be able to take over Hu Hai's position in the future, and he, Zhao Gao, would be able to ascend to the top in one step. It was better to be safe than sorry. What if Xing Han found out? Mind reading is not reliable. Young master, I object. Glaring coldly at Dustless, Zhao Gao rejected loudly. Furthermore, the school of Yinyang are all sorcerers of the pugilistic world. The Prime Minister is very busy every day. It would be bad if the secrets that he is handling for the Empire were exposed by the school of Yinyang. You are right. Mind reading is not appropriate. Li Si hurriedly rejected as well. If both of you reject, then we can just muddle through. However, I am afraid that no one will know the whereabouts of the Yellowstone Heavenly Book in the future. Xing Han said nonchalantly. You win. Li Si and Zhao Gao both hated Dustless. Because of this fellow, they could not avoid being scolded. It was simply an unlucky year. They must have not checked the almanac when they went out and met Dustless, this jinx. They hated Dustless to the core. May I know why young master is here today? Seeing that everyone had taken their seats, Fu Nian sighed inwardly. He said respectfully to Fu Su, if the Empire needs the school of Confucianism, we will do our best. That is good. Hearing this, Fu Su was overjoyed. His impression of the school of Confucianism also improved. It is indeed the same as the legends in history. Seeing Fu Su's friendly appearance, Dustless suddenly recalled some memories of Fu Su from his previous life. Compared to Ying Zheng, who ruled the world by force, Fu Su was much more benevolent. He also agreed with the teachings of the school of Confucianism. However, due to some people's interference, Fu Su was forced to commit suicide. The masterminds were the two bowing Li Si and Zhao Gao. In history, it was the two of them who conspired to kill Fu Su and great General Meng Tian, supporting Hu Hai to ascend to the throne. I won't hide it from you. Recently, there have been many rebels in Shanghai. Among the 100 schools of thought, the Confucian school is ranked at the top. If they are willing to help, the remnants of the school of Moism will have nowhere to hide. Fu Su's tone carried a hint of pleading as he continued. The Empire will definitely not forget Little Saint's kindness. This is bad. Hearing this, Zhang Liang sighed inwardly. He stared at Fu Nian, the leader of Shaosheng Xian Manor, and became nervous for a moment. There's going to be a good show. Dustless, who had been observing the changes in Zhang Liang's expression, revealed an imperceptible smile. The situation of the Confucian school was a bit special. Inside, there were 3 people in charge. Fu Nian was the leader of Shaosheng Xian Manor. The second in charge was Yen Lu, and the third in charge was Zhang Liang. Within the Confucian school, they were not monolithic. At least, Zhang Liang was the only one who supported the school of Moism. Yen Lu only helped Zhang Liang at ordinary times. As for the leader, Fu Nian, he was actually more inclined to the Qin state. In the original work, when Fu Nian learned that Tianming and Shaosheng were rebels, he was so angry that he even quarreled with Zhang Liang. During this time, Yen Lu helped Zhang Liang. The angered Fu Nian almost expelled Yen Lu from the Confucian school if Sun Zi did not plead for mercy. Although Zhang Liang is a member of the Confucian school, fundamentally, he supports the school of Moism. It's really funny. Maybe the burning of books and burying of Confucianism in the future was caused by this guy. Seeing the tense Zhang Liang, Dustless could not help but shake his head. The leader of the Confucian school, Fu Nian, had a good character. He wanted to carry forward the teachings of the Confucian school. This was not a big mistake. It was human nature. However, Zhang Liang, who was a hindrance, colluded with the Confucian school. It was destined that Fu Nian's dream would come to nothing. Not only that, but he would also suffer the revenge of the Qin state in the future. Success and failure were because of Shaohe. The fame of the Confucian school was inextricably linked to Zhang Liang. In the future, when the Confucian school was slaughtered, Zhang Liang still had an inescapable relationship. The current situation was different. In the original work, because of Zhang Liang's collusion with the school of Moism, Fu Nian gave up the idea of relying on Fu Su. Now it was different. Fu Nian did not know that Zhang Liang had colluded with the school of Moism. He, who wanted to carry forward the teachings of the Confucian school, was about to fall to Fu Su. What made Fu Nian most happy was that Fu Su valued the Confucian school. "I'm so angry." Zhang Liang was having a hard time. In his heart, he had always planned for the 100 Schools of Thought Alliance to overthrow the Qin state, and the Confucian school was going to take the lead. But now, the leader of the Confucian school, Fu Nian, was about to fall to Fu Su. How could Zhang Liang be calm? Why? Seeing Zhang Liang's embarrassed appearance, Dustless chose to be a bystander and turn a deaf ear. To some extent, with Zhang Liang's personality, he was not suitable for the Confucian school and was more suitable for joining the school of Moism. The Confucian school had rich contents. From an individual's perspective, there were benevolence, righteousness, etiquette, wisdom, faith, forgiveness, loyalty, filial piety, friendship, and other virtues. Zhang Liang's actions had already gone against these teachings. He even tried to overthrow the rule of the emperor, which was the topic that the Confucian school avoided the most. It was no wonder that in the original work, the angry Fu Nian wanted to punish Yin Lu, who covered up for Zhang Liang. Truth be told, the Sang pirates have been rampant recently. If the Confucian faction is willing to join in and help the empire wipe out the rebels, the Confucian faction will be under the rule of the empire in the future. Fu Su threw out the bait and tempted. Fu Su was indeed the future successor of the Qin state. He knew what Fu Nian wanted, which was to carry forward the Confucian school. Although Fu Su's promise was equivalent to an empty check, it was enough to make Fu Nian excited. If you knew that Zhang Liang was dragging you down, would you be so angry that you would vomit blood? Dustless had a strange expression. He could not help but imagine Fu Nian's furious appearance after knowing the truth. Chapter 1859. Some things were already destined. Zhang Liang's family was the prime minister in Korea for 5 generations. Since Korea was destroyed by the Qin state, it was destined that Zhang Liang could not help the Qin state as much as Fu Nian. Even in some aspects, Zhang Liang had to stand on the opposite side of Fu Nian. Zhang Liang is going to burn his ass this time. Looking at the anxious and gloomy Zhang Liang, Dustless laughed unscrupulously in his heart. Since there were some things that couldn't be ignored, Zhang Liang could only suffer from it. "Young Master Fu Su, if you have anything to ask the Confucian school for help, just say it," Fu Nian said gently and elegantly. "The Confucian school will do its best and work hard until the end. Then I'll be frank." Hearing this, Fu Su nodded happily and said bluntly, "If possible, I hope Zichen can join me temporarily and be loyal to the empire." Dustless was stunned. When he was about to speak, he found that everyone's eyes were looking at him. "Young master, you can't." Before Dustless could speak, some people stopped him. Looking closely, it was Zhang Liang, Li Si, and Zhao Gao. The 3 of them were strangely standing in the same trench. "Why not?" Fu Nian and Fu Su frowned and asked. This, Zhao Gao and Li Si looked at each other. Both of them hated Dustless. If they became Dustless's confidants, how could they do anything to Dustless in the future? Moreover, this was not the most important thing. As everyone knew, Dustless was the eldest son of Eng Zheng and the future heir of the empire. If Dustless followed Dustless, then Zhao Gao and Li Si would be in trouble. As for Zhang Liang, that was even more unacceptable. Dustless was so powerful. If he was pushed to the Qin state's camp, wouldn't it be a disaster for the anti-Qin alliance? In Zhang Liang's view, Dustless should continue to be neutral and not help anyone. "What are your plans, Zichen?" Fu Nian suddenly looked at Dustless and said hopefully, "If possible, I hope you can be young Master Fu Su's guard and protect his safety." F***CK. Fu Nian isn't a good person either. Dustless wailed in his heart. This bastard actually wanted to sacrifice himself to seduce a rich man like Fu Su. After all, Fu Su was the future successor of the empire. It was normal for Fu Yin to have other thoughts. After pondering for a moment, Dustless decisively refused. Forgive me for being blunt, but I have no intention of becoming a bodyguard. Protect Fu Su? Dustless wouldn't mind giving it a try, since he was bored anyway, if there were any benefits. However, Dustless decisively rejected such a thankless task. A pity. Fu Su sighed in disappointment. Although he was the eldest son of Zheng, sadly, he did not have any real power. Even the guards around him were Zhao Gao and Li Si's men, so it was normal for him to feel uneasy. Other than that, there is another important matter. It is a marriage. Fu Su was not depressed. He looked at Dustless and said directly, "To be honest, due to the school of Enyang's delay, I hope Zichen and Enyang's young masterming can become husband and wife." Uffed. Dustless spat out the tea in his mouth when Fu Su said that. "No problem. I will agree on behalf of Zichen." Before Dustless could say anything, Fu Yin agreed and looked at Dustless with a ferocious gaze, hinting him not to speak nonsense. What's going on? Zhang Liang was dumbfounded when he heard that. He looked at Fu Su in disbelief, and then at the school of Enyang. Their faces were calm. It was obvious that they had been informed beforehand. Even young Master Ming herself was calm, as if everything had nothing to do with her. It was obvious that she had also known about it beforehand. Why did they choose Dustless to marry? This is impossible. There is no reason at all. Zhang Liang's brain cells sped up as he thought. Could it be that they saw through Zichen's disguise as Dustless? That is also impossible. If they really saw through it, the little Saint Manor would have been surrounded by the Qin army. Could it be that they value his shocking potential and want to pull him into the school of Enyang? Zhang Liang's heart raced as he thought about the school of Enyang's intentions. However, after thinking about it carefully, it was not possible. If they valued Dustless's potential and worth nurturing, they could have just snatched him away. If it was a marriage alliance, the meaning and implications would be too great. Furthermore, it was Fu Su who had spoken. What did this mean to a certain extent? It meant that the school of Enyang wanted to form an alliance with the school of Enyang. If the school of Enyang and the school of Enyang become allies of the state of Qin, then the 100 Schools of Thought alliance will become a laughingstock. The 100 schools of thought will collapse on their own. Realizing the danger and seriousness of this matter, Zhang Liang was about to speak up to stop it when Fu Yin's angry voice sounded out mercilessly. "Zifang, shut up." Fu Yin naturally knew what kind of person Zhang Liang was after being his senior brother for more than 10 years. When he spoke, nothing good would come out of a dog's mouth. He would definitely want to ruin this marriage. Serves you right. Who asked you to be a busybody? Who asked you to be sinister and like to cheat others? This is retribution. Dustless glanced at Zhang Liang with schadenfreude. He also vaguely guessed the school of Enyang's intentions. Sacrificing young Arbiter Ming could pull the strongest school of thought, the school of thought, into their camp. This deal was very worth it. Without the support of the school of thought, the other forces might collapse on their own. It was also normal for Fu Yin to accept this marriage alliance. As everyone knew, the state of Qin was in control of the world, and the school of Enyang was an important guest of Zheng. If the school of thought could become allies with the school of thought, the status of the school of thought would naturally rise. Young Master Fu Su also appreciated Dustless. In the future, the school of thought would dominate the world. Just thinking about it made Fu Yin extremely excited. Put away your cunning thoughts. Don't forget that the head of the school of thought is me. Looking at Zhang Liang with a cold gaze, Fu Yin silently conveyed his meaning, which was to let Zhang Liang speak less and just watch. Chapter 1860. What does this have to do with me? Wu Chun was secretly speechless. He had a feeling of being F***ed up. If you want to get married, then so be it, but what does this have to do with me? Although young Master Si Ming was quite good-looking, anyone would be annoyed if someone arranged a marriage for them out of the blue. Besides, Dustless wasn't the kind of person who lacked love, nor was he the kind of person who was infatuated with women. However, Dustless wasn't that interested. Why did young master Fu Su choose me? Wu Chun suspiciously glanced at Fu Su, then looked at young Master Ming, who was as calm as an ancient well. He saw her calm and peaceful expression, as if everything had nothing to do with her. Why can't I choose you? Fu Su asked in puzzlement. Then he said his true thoughts. You are about the same age, and Master Zichen and young Master Ming are both peerless geniuses. What's wrong with that? This, Dustless was speechless. Although Fu Su's reason was a bit rough, it was undeniable that it was a bit persuasive. A talented man and a beautiful woman were a good match. I still think it's a bit inappropriate. At this moment, Zhang Liang suddenly said, the two are not familiar with each other. Isn't it a bit inappropriate to have such a hasty marriage? Enough, Zifang. Fu Nian, who couldn't listen anymore, his old face darkened. He knew his junior brother's experience. Although he didn't show it on the surface, deep down, he definitely hated the Qin state. Zhang Liang's family, in the past, had 5 generations of prime ministers. There was no doubt that they were definitely the type of prominent officials. Now that the family was destroyed and South Korea was gone with the wind, they were full of hatred for the Qin state. It was normal for them to be dissatisfied with the Confucian school joining the Qin state's camp. However, the head of the Confucian school was Fu Nian after all. He had to consider the overall situation. Naturally, he would choose whoever he followed. Although it was a bit snobbish, it was inevitable. What's more, loyalty to the king was the root of the Confucian school's doctrine. If the Confucian school led a rebellion, then they would inevitably lose their prestige in the future. This matter is decided by me. You can leave, Zifang. Waving his hand, Fu Nian was like an ice cube, exuding a cold chill. Zhang Liang was speechless. Looking at the cold light brewing in Fu Nian's eyes, he finally sighed helplessly and left. If he continued to pester, he was afraid that this senior brother would really go crazy. Ahem. I still have things to do, so I'll take my leave for now. Coughing awkwardly, Dustless planned to find a quiet place to rest for a while. However, Fu Nian didn't give him a good opportunity and grabbed Dustless. Brat, you have to agree even if you don't want to. What's wrong with sacrificing your body for the Confucian family? Fu Nian whispered into Dustless's ear, don't worry. After this marriage, the Confucian school will definitely not treat you unfairly. You won't treat me unfairly? Dustless rolled his eyes and turned a deaf ear to Fu Nian's words. It was completely equivalent to an empty check with no guarantee at all. But, changing the topic, Dustless secretly laughed and said inwardly, anyway, I'm bored. There's no harm in agreeing for the time being. I can take the opportunity to sow discord between Zhang Liang and Fu Nian and finally expel Zhang Liang from the Confucian family. Dustless secretly laughed, then patted his chest and agreed heartily, no problem. For the future of the Confucian family, it's okay for me to suffer for the time being. Suffer for the time being? The others didn't change, but a trace of anger appeared on young Master Ming's beautiful face. Dustless's words made it sound like she was at a disadvantage. She wasn't a monster that couldn't be seen in public. If it wasn't for the Enyang school this time, just wait and see. Young Master Ming thought of the Enyang school's plan and could only glare fiercely at Dustless, then decisively extinguish the flame in her eyes. Sure enough, the Enyang school's marriage plan isn't just for the alliance. I'm afraid there are other purposes. What exactly is that old fox Dong Huang Tai planning? I'll ask Yueshin and Great Master Ming later. Let's play with young Master Ming for the time being. Dustless lowered his head and quietly observed young Master Ming. Seeing that she was enduring silently, he was relieved. Let nature take its course for the time being. Wait, you can't marry anyone from the Enyang school. At this moment, Xing Han, who had been silent all this while, suddenly spoke. He glanced at Dustless and said, there are still some tests. Is that so? But let me tell you, I won't marry anyone casually. Dustless glanced at young Master Ming to convey this message. Young Master Ming's clear and beautiful face froze. The green leaves around them had already slowly floated over from all directions, and it looked like she was about to make a move. It's very simple to marry someone from the Enyang school. You have to at least defeat young Master Ming. The Yin-Yang school doesn't need a useless person who looks strong on the outside, but is weak on the inside. Xing Hun glanced coldly at Dustless. It was obvious that he was implying that young Master Ming wanted to fight with Dustless. If that's the case, there's no need to proceed. Dustless shrugged and said disapprovingly, "This is too boring. Let's change to something else." "You intend to admit defeat?" Xing Hun glanced at Dustless and said disdainfully, "If you're not strong enough, just give up. I won't stop you. We've already competed before." "I'm sorry, young Master Ming lost." Dustless gave an answer that made Xing Hun speechless. He sneered disdainfully and said, "I'm not interested in a loser. Let's stop here. The Yin-Yang school is just a small trick. Are you looking down on me? I've already lost once. How can I lose again?" Young Master Ming snorted unhappily. She realized that Dustless was looking down on her. "Just lost once. Some things can be changed, but some things can't be changed." Dustless stared at young Master Ming nonchalantly. His indifferent eyes were filled with silent contempt and calmness. Chapter 1861. Hearing Dustless's confident tone, the other members of the Confucian school did not mind. After all, they had already seen how powerful Dustless was. But Xing Hun, who had always thought highly of himself, could not tolerate it. "You think you're very powerful?" Xing Hun's face was cold as he said coldly, "Other than that guy, you're the second person to be as arrogant as you." "That guy?" Hearing this, Dustless's interest was piqued. He blinked and asked, "Is there someone like me in this world?" This guy, seeing Dustless's arrogant attitude, Xing Hun's mouth twitched. A figure appeared in his mind. He looked at Dustless and said, "That guy is Dustless. He's my archenemy." "You? Archenemy? You think too highly of yourself." Hearing this, Dustless's face was full of mockery. Because he had disguised himself, Xing Hun did not recognize that the Zichun he was talking to was Dustless. "Fine. Since the Yin-Yang school wants to have a duel, I'll accept it. But," Dustless smiled at young Master Ming and said, "Don't cry when you lose. Do you think I'm a child?" Young Master Ming's voice was full of confidence. Ever since she was defeated by Dustless, she had been practicing her inner strength, and her strength had improved. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Faint ripples appeared in the air. A vortex of vital energy appeared at the tip of young Master Ming's finger. With a flick of her finger, a large number of leaves were drawn over by her power. The leaves formed a green whip that could be seen clearly. It was worth mentioning that young Master Ming exerted strength in her arms this time. Her snow-white wrists extended out of her sleeves, revealing her pure white skin. Her clean and flawless arms were as white as snow. Lecture. When she saw Wu Chan staring fixedly at her, Xiaoxi Ming snorted lightly, and a wisp of a strange ripple flashed through her heart. It was the first time she'd been stared at in a daze by someone like this, so she couldn't help but feel slightly uncomfortable. "This time, I'll make sure you understand how extraordinary the school of Yin-Yang is." Xiaoxi Ming's pair of beautiful eyes slightly narrowed, emitting a cold beam of light. She crossed her arms abruptly, and right after that, the pair of viper-like green, long whips wrapped around Dustless's body from both sides. With all due respect, Dustless looked at the green leaf whip carefully. He lost interest and said in boredom, "Although its power is stronger than last time, its essence hasn't changed. It's still as superficial." Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. At the same time, the sharp green leaf whip also swung over and went straight for Wu Chen's face. Upon seeing this, Dustless stood still. His handsome face raised a faint smile of victory, and the spiritual pressure in his body slightly erupted. Boom, boom, boom. Although it was only a weak trace of spiritual pressure, the movement it created was incomparable. Ka, ka, ka. The ground he stepped on instantly exploded, and the dense cracks were shocking to the eye. The explosion of the air wave attacked the green leaf long whip that surrounded him. Ka, ka, ka. The berserk spiritual pressure, in a crushing manner, tore the attacking green leaves to shreds, turning them into gravel-like granules that scattered all over the ground. How about this? Dustless's calm gaze swept across Xing Hun and Xiao Ximing's faces. He said indifferently, Xiao Ximing, your strength has indeed improved, but your luck isn't too good. You picked the wrong enemy. I won't give up. Upon hearing this, Xiao Ximing bit her lips and clenched her fists tightly. She looked at Dustless with great reluctance. Not bad. Xing Hun nodded expressionlessly, but a storm was brewing in his heart. He was very wary of Dustless's strength. Due to the fact that he was too fast, he didn't know what was going on. Are you all so bored? Fu Su, you called me here just to watch children fight? Moreover, the performance of the school of Yin Yang is really disappointing. At this moment, an ethereal voice appeared out of nowhere and landed in everyone's ears. This crisp and pleasant female voice could be identified as a girl, even if one closed their eyes. However, what was hard to understand was that there was no one else around except for Xiao Ximing. Could it be Wu Chen's spirit was refreshed? In his mind, an immortal-like, ethereal, and untouchable young girl suddenly appeared. So it's Master Xiaoming. You're finally here. However, you seem to be late. The banquet has already ended. Fu Suning looked at the light figure floating in front of her. There was a rare trace of apology in her tone. It wasn't hard to see that Fu Suning respected this person. That's good. I'm not interested in children's fights. The light figure slowly walked over, getting closer and closer. Within the fog, one of the beautiful figures was faintly discernible, appearing extremely ethereal. It even gave people the illusion that this person was riding a cloud. She was right in front of them, but it felt like gold was on the horizon. People of the Confucian school, where is your Grandmaster Sun Zi? A few seconds later, the mist stopped in the middle of the hall. A young girl with a breathtaking appearance suddenly appeared. This person had a pair of slender white legs that looked like the most perfect masterpiece of the heavens. Her appearance was also impeccable, with a natural arrogance. Her deep eyes were filled with wisdom, as if she had seen through the past of the mortal world. She was surrounded by immortal qi, and her aura was extremely powerful. Facing such a young girl, everyone would feel a sense of inferiority. Is this Master Xiaoming? She's really arrogant. Dustless gave her a thumbs up secretly. He was sincerely impressed by Master Xiaoming's temperament. Yueshin and Xiao Ximing were the type that stood aloof from worldly affairs. They were elegant and refined. Great Ximing was cold and piercing like a snow lotus. However, Master Xiaoming had a fairy-like temperament. Her bright eyes were filled with unusual wisdom. Nothing could escape from her eyes. Just as Dustless was sizing up Master Xiaoming, the latter suddenly looked over. Chapter 1862. What do you want? Everyone was trying to figure out Xiaoming's intentions. It was really inappropriate for the head of a heavenly sect to stare at a Confucian disciple without moving. Is this the head of the heavenly sect, Xiaoming? Xing Hun looked at Xiaoming with some apprehension and deliberately revealed some hostility. However, the latter did not care about Xing Hun at all and completely ignored him as if he was air. Despicable woman. Seeing this, Xing Hun withdrew his hostility. After all, Xiaoming was Fu Su's guest. Picking on her was equivalent to finding trouble with Fu Su. What's the matter? After a while, Dustless saw that Xiaoming was just looking at him quietly. She did not release any hostility or attack. She just stared at him motionlessly like a block of wood. Nothing. Xiaoming just responded faintly. Then, she looked at Dustless meaningfully and said, I heard that your moves are very strange. Even an expert like the six-sword slave was defeated. Today, I see that you live up to your reputation. Master Xiaoming, you're exaggerating. Dustless politely cupped his hands. His eyes rolled as he pursed his lips and said apologetically, I still have something to deal with. Forgive me for not keeping you company. I'll take my leave for now, everyone. As his voice faded, Dustless swaggered off. Wait. At this moment, Xiaoming suddenly stopped Dustless from leaving and said, Today's visit to the Confucian sect can't be fruitless. If Sun Zi is not here, the person who will discuss Taoism with me will be replaced by you. Hearing this, Fu Yin's expression changed drastically. He quickly interrupted and said, Senior, Zichen is just a junior. He is illiterate and only knows some basic martial arts. Illiterate? Everyone was shocked. The Confucian sect's knowledge was well known. A Confucian disciple might not be extremely knowledgeable, but at least he was not illiterate. Are you trying to bully me? Xiao Meng pursed her thin lips. She did not believe it either. Her eyes narrowed and emitted a dangerous light. Don't feel strange. This is an undeniable fact. Dustless shrugged and scratched his head awkwardly. I really can't read. Sorry, goodbye. As soon as he finished speaking, Dustless hurriedly fled. Fighting was fine, but those literary things were really not his forte. Moreover, this matter had nothing to do with him at all. Xiaoming had already named Sun Zi, so Dustless did not need to act like a rash youth. Moreover, there was still Fu Yin. Phew! The air outside is still fresh. Dustless walked out of the reception hall and breathed in the fresh air. He stretched his body and looked up at the blue sky with a lazy expression on his face. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. A gentle breeze suddenly blew over. Dustless paused for a second. Then he turned around and saw young Master Ming with her purple hair fluttering in the wind. You're really haunting me. Even if you have an engagement, there's no need to be so serious. Dustless looked helpless. He stared at young Master Ming for a moment and said bluntly, What is the purpose of your yin-yang school? Forgive me for being blunt, but I find it hard to believe that you have a marriage alliance without any reason. You're quite smart. Young Master Ming's calm eyes flashed with surprise. She said bluntly, The yin-yang school does not want to form an alliance with the Confucian sect. Instead, it wants to devour the Confucian sect from its roots. In other words, it needs a suitable representative to rule the Confucian sect and become its subsidiary. Is that so? So they sent you here? Dustless was extremely calm. He had long known that the yin-yang school's motive was not simple. Can I understand it this way? Dustless's eyes lit up. The yin-yang school needs a suitable representative, and you feel that I have a bright future. So you chose me and hope that I can replace Fu Yin's position in the future. You're very smart. Hearing this, Xiao Ximing nodded non-committally and said, Then what are your plans? If you sincerely want to be affiliated with the yin-yang school, we can help you secretly kill Fu Yin and help you take the position. In the future, the head of the Confucian school will inevitably be you. After you and I get married, your status will inevitably rise, and everything will be logical. Sounds good, but I'm more concerned about what will happen if I refuse. Dustless asked with a smile. Will the yin-yang school kill me immediately? That's not it. It's completely unnecessary. Young Master Ming shook her head elegantly and said with a calm and confident tone, If you refuse, then let nature take its course. According to the yin-yang school's arrangement, I will still marry you. In the future, we can still slowly devour the Confucian sect, but the time will be much slower. Is that so? The yin-yang school is really calm. Dustless sighed and then left in boredom. He said, Then you can wait. I'm not interested in the position of the head of the Confucian sect. You're a disciple of the Confucian sect. Shouldn't everyone yearn for Fu Yin's position? Young Master Ming frowned and chased after Dustless. She stood side by side with him. The position of the head of the Confucian sect is admired by everyone in the world. It's as dazzling as the stars. It's because it's too dazzling that I'm not interested. I don't have any great ambitions. I'm not interested in leading the Confucian sect and carrying it forward. Dustless shook his hand. These words were completely from the bottom of his heart. It was really tiring to be a boss. This was what Dustless learned from his experience in several worlds. I see. I'm suddenly interested in you. As a disciple of the Confucian sect, you don't care about the position of the head of the Confucian sect. It's really puzzling and curious. A short while later, young Master Ming abruptly said something that sounded weird. Chapter 1863. Curious and puzzled, young Master Ming's answer left Dustless speechless. A Confucian disciple giving up the position of sect master was indeed a fantasy. After all, that position was once fought over by countless Confucian disciples. If you're curious and puzzled, I feel that you're even more difficult to figure out. Dustless looked at young Master Ming, whose face was covered by a veil, and felt somewhat surprised. Including this meeting, he and young Master Ming had only met twice, and their relationship was not good. Especially in the last competition, when Dustless defeated young Master Ming, and this time, it was the same. As a proud daughter of the heavens, young Master Ming was probably traumatized by it. But at this moment, young Master Ming had completely forgotten the past, and was even willing to sacrifice himself and the Confucian alliance. Dustless could not help but think of a saying, "The parent's orders, the matchmaker's words." Both sides of the marriage have no right to choose. This was the case for ancient people when they got married and had children. They had no right to choose. So obedient, seeing young Master Ming, who did not even blink, as if everything was as it should be, Dustless smacked his lips, but he still remained silent. The thinking of a modern person was completely different from that of the ancient people. Some of the views of modern people were deviant in the eyes of the ancient people. On the contrary, in the eyes of Dustless, the thinking of the ancient people was also inflexible in the eyes of modern people. Take young Master Ming in front of him, for example. She was asked to marry, and the person was an enemy with whom she had a grudge. However, young Master Ming did not say a word because of the orders of the school of Enyang. In Dustless's eyes, she was really stubborn. On the contrary, young Master Ming's behavior was normal in the eyes of the ancient people, such as Fun Yin and the others. I said that I have something to deal with. Forgive me for not accompanying you. Cupping his hands, Dustless brushed past her. Wait, from now on, you're not allowed to hide anything from me. Her body trembled slightly, and like a shadow, young Master Ming once again blocked in front of Dustless. Huh. Hearing this, Dustless subconsciously cried out and said in confusion, "This is just a deal. You don't have to be so serious. Just put on an act. I won't make things difficult for you. As for the marriage, you don't have to be." No. Unexpectedly, before Dustless could finish his sentence, Xiaoxi Ming's tone was no longer as aloof as before. She repeated, "This is His Excellency East Emperor's order, not a real show. No matter what, the school of Enyang and the school of Confucianism must be connected through marriage. As long as you and I get married, the school of Enyang will be able to easily crush the school of Confucianism, which is the most powerful of the 100 schools of thought. When that time comes, the confidence of the other traders will be greatly affected, and they might even collapse." Young Master Ming's tone was several times louder than before. Her pretty face had a serious expression that had never been seen before. Dustless was shocked after being stunned for a moment. He thought to himself, "This guy looks so serious. Does young Master Ming really want to have a wedding night with me? I'm afraid he's been brainwashed by the Enyang family. Sigh, what a pity." Dustless opened his mouth, but swallowed the words that were about to come out of his mouth. He stared at young Master Ming, whose face was covered by a veil, and said unhappily, "You keep saying that I'm not allowed to hide anything from you, but you're wearing a veil when talking to me. Isn't this?" Before Dustless could finish his sentence, young Master Ming's sudden action stunned him. Young Master Ming took off the transparent veil on her face in a carefree manner, revealing a stunning face. Her jade-like face was flawless, and her facial features were even. Even if you used a microscope, you wouldn't be able to find any flaws. Her skin was fair, her skin was smooth, and her bones were jade-like. Her entire body exuded an ethereal aura, as if she was a fairy who had descended from the heavens. Young Master Ming's eyebrows were long and thin, and they were set in her eye sockets. Compared to them, the stars in the sky were like fireflies, not worth mentioning. I can't believe I got distracted while looking at a woman. After a while, Dustless, who had regained his senses, subconsciously slapped his forehead. If Xing had ambushed him just now, perhaps he would have been beheaded already. Am I that ugly? Seeing Dustless's bitter smile, young Master Ming's hands tightened slightly. She blinked her eyes, seeming a little nervous. That's not it. You're perfect. Dustless shook his head like a rattledrum. He had seen countless beauties and was a true veteran in the field of flowers. He was already immune to beautiful women, but when he saw young Master Ming's stunning appearance, he couldn't help but be stunned. If that's the case, I have nothing to hide from you now. You have to do the same. You're not allowed to hide anything from me in the future. Young Master Ming said in a non-negotiable tone. We'll talk about it in the future. Dustless nodded perfunctorily. Young Master Ming's words went in one ear and out the other. Everyone, I'll cut to the chase. There's a new change. After Zhang Liang was chased away by Fun Yan from the Mo family's stronghold deep in the mountains, he rushed over without stopping to discuss countermeasures with the Mo family members and their new ally, Lu Sha. The school of Yinyang wants to form an alliance with the Confucian family, and the disciples of both sides have already set a marriage contract. Zhang Liang's words made everyone frown. This won't do. If the Confucian family is absorbed by the school of Yinyang without any bloodshed, the anti-Qin forces will definitely suffer a heavy blow. Gao Jinli raised his eyebrows and said coldly, "We'll assassinate one of them and ignite the conflict between the two sides." That's right. No matter what, we can't let them get together. Otherwise, it will be a disaster for the world. Zhang Liang echoed. In fact, his plan was to assassinate one of them and use this as an excuse to ignite the conflict between the school of Yinyang and the Confucian family. This way, they would return to being on opposite sides. Everyone, I already have a detailed secret plan, but I still need your help. Chapter 1864. Secret Plan. Hearing this, everyone's interest was piqued, and they all looked at Zhang Liang expectantly. Although I'm a member of the Confucian school, and I'm the third master of the Confucian school, but I firmly oppose the Confucian school joining the Qin Kingdom's camp. However, I think you all know the situation inside the Confucian school. I'm not the only one who has the authority. Above me, there are two senior brothers, Zi Fong. What do you mean? Qi Lian couldn't help but ask. Her seductive eyes were filled with a rare confusion. From Zhang Liang's words, she smelled an unusual murderous intent. The people present were not idiots. They were all sly old foxes. After pondering over Zhang Liang's words, they understood what he wanted to say. Could it be that you want to kill your two senior brothers and replace them? The person who asked the question had silver hair and narrowed eyes. His whole body radiated a powerful aura that was extremely oppressive. Breathing was 10 times more difficult than usual. If Zhang Liang assassinated Fun Yin and Yin Lu, the third master of the Confucian school, he could also ascend to the position of the head of the Confucian school. Although I don't get along well with senior brother, there's no need to go to that extent. Zhang Liang just shook his head casually, but his eyes were particularly firm. Then how are we going to deal with the alliance between the Yinyang school and the Confucian school? Zi Fong, don't tell me you want to kill the Confucian disciple who married the Yinyang school? Old Man Ban asked in disgust. Assassinating one's own people was really dirty. Master Ban, you must be joking. Hearing this, Zhang Liang just smiled bitterly and sighed. You may not know, but the Confucian disciple who married the Yinyang school's young master is Dustless. What? Dustless? The people of the Mo family were stunned. They raised their voices in disbelief and panic. In other words, Dustless intends to join the Yinyang school? I don't believe it. Dustless is not that kind of person. Duamu Rong was the first to stand up and oppose. Her bright eyes were as bright as the stars. She didn't believe that Dustless would betray the Mo family. At that time, I felt that he was suspicious. Ever since he appeared, the Mo family never stopped doing certain things. Gao Jinli immediately stood out and expressed a different opinion. Right, Ashue? Gao Jinli looked at the Snow Lady expectantly. However, Gao Jinli was destined to be slapped in the face this time. Is there some misunderstanding? I also feel that Dustless is not that kind of person. Although he is a bit sloppy, he does things with principles. It was extremely rare for the Snow Lady to express her opinion of Gao Jinli. and this caused everyone to be astonished. One had to understand that Gao Jianli and the Snow Lady had always been inseparable in the past, and they would advance and retreat together. Now, because of a dustless, there was ambiguity, which really surprised everyone. Dustless, that kid, seeing this, Gao Jianli's expression immediately changed, and his breathing became heavy. His right hand couldn't help but grab Ishui Han. The Snow Lady actually had a different opinion from him, and Gao Jianli couldn't help but place all the blame on Dustless. Ever since this kid had appeared, the hearts of the MO family members had started to show signs of falling apart. The Snow Lady was still fine, although she would sometimes change sides at the last minute, such as now. Gao Jianli still believed in her. In the MO family, especially Duanmu Rong, it was as if she had been bewitched, and she had a kind of blind trust in Dustless. Everyone, please don't misunderstand. It wasn't Dustless who initiated the marriage with the Yin-Yang school. This time, the person who randomly matched the couple was young Master Fu Su. Zhang Liang mentioned an important person that no one expected. So what? Even if it was Dustless who rashly interfered, Dustless can't get away from this matter. Gao Jianli snorted coldly and didn't appreciate it. There are so many disciples in the Confucian school. Why did they choose Dustless? This is a question that deserves to be explored. I still believe in him. Duanmu Rong didn't care about Gao Jianli's doubts. She still believed that Dustless wouldn't harm the MO family. However, deep in her eyes, there was an unprecedented sadness brewing. The marriage partner is the Yin-Yang school's young arbiter Ming. Duanmu Rong stared at Zhang Liang, her voice trembling. That's right. I heard that the marriage will be held in the Confucian school's Little Sage Manor, so I've decided to secretly kill young arbiter Ming. This way, the Yin-Yang school will definitely be angry with the Confucian school. After all, she died in the Little Sage Manor. Although Zhang Liang's voice was frivolous, it was as firm as a rock. It was clear that he was serious. But this way, the Confucian school will also be greatly harmed and will definitely be severely punished, Gunye said with a frown. Although Zhang Liang's plan sounded good, it would also harm the Confucian school. Zhang Liang was a member of the Confucian school, and now he wanted to harm the Confucian school. There's no other way. This is the only way I can think of right now. Confucius said, "Fish is what I desire. Bear paws are also what I desire. If I can't have both, I'll give up the fish for the bear paws. Life is also what I desire. Righteousness is also what I desire. If I can't have both, I'll give up my life for righteousness." Zhang Liang spoke of the Confucian school's classics. It was clear that he wanted to give up on the Confucian school and walk down the path of darkness. Of course, it wasn't accurate to say that he was harming the Confucian school. According to Zhang Liang's understanding, he was using another method to save the Confucian school. He had always believed that the Qin state, which couldn't win the hearts of the people, would be destroyed sooner or later, and the Confucian school, which was attached to the Qin state, would also be destroyed sooner or later. As such, it was better to break up this alliance as soon as possible. It was worth it to pay a small price to part ways with the Qin state. Although the Confucian school would be affected to a certain extent, it wasn't a big deal. Fighting the Qin state wasn't a game, and some necessary sacrifices were inevitable. When Dustless and young Arbiter Ming get married, I'll tell you the time. At that time, we can all sneak into the Little Sage Manor and kill young Arbiter Ming. Chapter 1865. Shaosheng Manor. Since Dustless agreed to ally with the Yin-Yang school, Fu Nian, who was overjoyed, decorated the Shaosheng Manor with red lanterns everywhere. It was very festive. Many places were also cleaned up. The Shaosheng Manor was full of joy. Those who didn't know would think that Fu Nian was married. However, it was normal. Fu Nian, who wanted the Confucian school to soar, had not achieved his goal yet, but the day when the Confucian school soared to the sky was finally closer. Among the 100 schools of thought, the strength of the Yin-Yang school was unquestionable. After the Confucian school formed an alliance with it, it was equivalent to an indirect relationship with the state of Qin. Because of Dustless, young Master Su had a good impression of the Confucian school. When Fu Yin was dreaming, he had already seen the Confucian school of thought unifying the world and the golden age of literature. This word is pronounced as loyalty. Write it for me. In a certain room, Fu Yin taught Dustless how to read. It was particularly sad. The ancient characters were really difficult to write. Dustless said that it was stressful to look at them, let alone write them. What a monster! Seeing Dustless's cold sweat, Fu Yin's thoughts were subverted. Dustless's attainments in martial arts made even him, the head of the Confucian school, feel ashamed and amazed. However, as for literature, it was really not flattering. So far, Dustless couldn't even write his own name. Sometimes he even needed Tianming and Xiaoyu to write for him. Cough, cough, cough. Seeing Fu Yin fall into a reverie again, Dustless had to cough twice to pull his thoughts back to reality. Zichen, you have made such a great contribution to the Confucian school. I definitely can't treat you unfairly. Fu Yin stared at Dustless and finally nodded with satisfaction. It was fine if he didn't have talent in literature. In this chaotic world, if he wanted to live without worries, he still had to rely on his fists. Listening to your tone, it seems that you intend to give me benefits. Hearing this, Dustless's eyes lit up. He said respectfully, "It is my duty to take the lead for the Confucian school. In the future, if there is anything that I can do, I will not refuse." Not bad. You're worth teaching. Fu Yin nodded with a smile. Then he thought of something. His eyes suddenly darkened. He said to himself, I hope that Zi Fong can be tactful. Don't make a big mess during this period of time. Otherwise, I can only do business according to the rules. Hee, you're destined to be disappointed this time. Hearing this, Dustless laughed coldly in his heart and decisively added fuel to the fire. Recently, Third Grandmaster has been in contact with some mysterious people. Most of them are not from the Confucian school, but from other sects in the Jianghu. Other sects? Hearing this, a cold light shot out from the depths of Fu Yin's eyes as he asked, Where did you see it? How was that group of people? How strong were they? Do you know him? Fu Yin asked a series of questions and looked at Dustless expectantly. This, with a sinister smile in his heart, Dustless pretended not to know. That group of people was very strange. There was a tall man with silver hair. I heard Third Grandmaster call him Wei Zhuang. There was also a woman with good strength who was good at playing with snakes. There was also a man who liked to be in the limelight, who could stand on the head of a bird. I don't know his name. Could it be? Hearing this, Fu Yin's face changed greatly. He quickly asked, Is that woman called Qi Lian and Bai Feng? Yes, that's right. Suddenly slapping his forehead, Dustless said with great certainty, Third Grandmaster often meets with them. I don't know what they are discussing. Perhaps they are discussing the future of the Confucian school. Dustless deliberately lowered his voice and looked at Fu Yin with a hidden meaning. For the future of the Confucian school, if Zi Fong doesn't cause me a big trouble, it would be a blessing from the heavens. Fu Yin suddenly snorted and angrily smashed the teacup on the table. Then, under Dustless's gaze, he left angrily. There will be a good show to watch now. Wu Chun followed with a lazy pace. If he didn't guess wrong, it was estimated that he was going to find trouble with Zhang Liang. At this critical moment, Zhang Liang, the third master of the Confucian school, didn't help. How could Fu Yin tolerate it? Zhang Liang was the third master of the Confucian school. It's best to kick Zhang Liang out of the Confucian school. Chuckling, Dustless also decisively followed. Anyway, he had nothing to do. Bang! Usually, there were only 4 figures in the reception hall, but the atmosphere was tense, especially Fu Yin, who was sitting in the master's seat. He looked down at the 3 figures below with a face full of fire. Of course, his eyes were mainly focused on the head of the young man in the middle. Zi Fong, you actually colluded with the people of Quicksand? They are rebels of the Empire. Fu Yin, a volcano that had been accumulating for a long time, erupted. As soon as he came up, he angrily scolded, Bastard, have you even forgotten the teachings of the Confucian school? You actually colluded with rebels. Do you want the Confucian school to become a laughingstock? As the third master of the Confucian school, you actually went against the teachings of the Confucian school. This is simply a great shame. The Confucian school paid attention to self-cultivation and was modest and gentle like jade. As the head of the Confucian school, Fu Nian was even more so. However, Zhang Liang's actions this time had indeed exceeded the limit of Fu Nian's tolerance, which was why Fu Nian was so angry. He had worked hard for the sake of the Confucian school. Not only did this deceitful junior brother not help him, but he also came to undermine him. How does senior brother know that I have dealings with quicksand? Hearing this, Zhang Liang's face slightly stiffened. He subconsciously looked at Dustless standing on the left. Seeing the smile that was not a smile, a strong sense of foreboding quietly spread in his heart. Senior brother, this is a rumor. After thinking about it, Zhang Liang decisively refused to admit it. Chapter 1866. Zhang Liang also had no choice. Some things could be admitted, but some things could never be admitted. Zifang, Lu sighed. When he saw Zhang Liang's expression that it had nothing to do with him, he knew that he was faking it. He knew senior brother Fu Nian's temperament too well. Without absolute certainty, Fu Nian would never speak. This kid still won't admit it? Seeing this, Dustless looked at Zhang Liang in surprise and secretly laughed in his heart. Idiot, everyone knows what you're thinking. Why do you have to pretend that you don't know and continue hiding? Rumor? What a good rumor. Fu Nian was so angry that he laughed. If Zhang Liang was willing to take the initiative to admit his mistake, he wouldn't be angry. After all, they were senior brothers, but Fu Nian hated people who pretended to be confused. This was obviously looking down on other people's IQ. Wind from an empty cave may not be without reason. Do you think I don't know your identity and background? Fu Nian snorted and angrily rebuked. You and Wei Zhuang have a subtle relationship. Your family has been the Prime Minister of Korea for 5 generations, and Wei Zhuang is a Korean noble. How dare you say you don't know each other? Hearing this, Zhang Liang frowned slightly and continued to quibble. Even if I know each other, so what? There is no evidence. I can't accept it if I collude with him in private. It doesn't matter if you accept it or not. Fu Nian shook his head and glanced at Zhang Liang. A straightforward person doesn't resort to insinuations. Zifang, I understand your inner thoughts, but I must tell you that I am the head of the Confucian school, not the gravedigger of the Confucian school. So, the marriage alliance between Zichun and the Yinyang school is already a done deal. Don't mention it again in the future. When it came to the marriage alliance, Fu Nian looked determined. Zhang Liang's face changed when he heard this. He couldn't help but rebuke, Senior brother, why are you helping the evildoer? The Qin state is insensitive. Yingzheng harmed the world to satisfy his own selfish desires. Confucianism can't ask a tiger for its skin. What a joke. At this moment, Fu Nian laughed contemptuously and said sarcastically, colluding with the Qin state is helping the evildoer. Isn't colluding with Wei Zhuang's Lu Sha to lead the wolf into the house? Hearing this, the corners of Zhang Liang's mouth twitched, and he expressed his opinion again. Fu Nian didn't show any weakness and fought back with words. Neither of them would easily admit defeat. Buzz, buzz, buzz. Like flies, the two of them spat at each other for more than 10 minutes before they finally stopped. Zichen, you tell Zifang what he did wrong. After a while, Fu Nian saw Dustless's comfortable appearance as if everything had nothing to do with him. Fu Nian decisively pulled Dustless into the water. That's none of my business. Hearing this, Dustless rolled his eyes. He could only bite the bullet and say, Yingzheng rules the country by law. Although the law is harsh, it is not without its benefits. Upon hearing this, Zhang Liang was stunned for a moment. Then, he moved closer to Dustless's ear and said in a tone that only the two of them could hear. You once said that you were neutral. Why are you siding with Yingzheng now? You worry too much. Dustless gave Zhang Liang a comforting look and said in a weak voice, I'm just leaning with Qin state in my thinking. My fist is still neutral. Quibble, you're really shameless. Glancing at Dustless, Zhang Liang turned his head with great disgust. Think whatever you want. I'm just expressing my personal opinion. Freedom of speech is innocent. Wu Chan smiled carelessly and explained. The criminal law of the Qin state is very strict and has been criticized. This is also one of the fundamental reasons why the whole world is against the Qin state. But in fact, in my opinion, this is not a big mistake. Not wrong. Fu Nian was stunned for a moment before asking. Zichen, tell me your opinion. Zifeng, listen to me clearly. Zichen was brought into Confucianism by you. Human nature is greedy. This is a natural habit that is difficult to change. If you don't impose restrictions, the evil shadow created is extremely fatal. Human nature must be controlled. Although Qin state's law is the most rigorous and harsh, it also restrains the greedy nature of human beings in a certain sense. It's ridiculous to be criticized as nothing by the 100 schools of thought. Dustless continued. What's more, looking at the countless years of history from the birth of the first feudal dynasty, Xia dynasty, until now, there have been countless outstanding emperors. But which one of them didn't make mistakes? In contrast, Ing Zheng has done a really good job. Let me ask you, how can a man not make mistakes? Yes, you're right. Fu Nian nodded and laughed in agreement. He gave Dustless a rare look of appreciation. These words really touched his heart. No man is perfect. Although Ing Zheng was the first emperor in history, he was not a god. All human beings made mistakes. Moreover, Ing Zheng's achievements were well known. He unified the 6 states and ended the era of division. Even if he was wrong, was it really necessary to hold on to other people's weaknesses every day? Overall, Ing Zheng's achievements were greater than his mistakes. He was many times better than Xia Jie, King Zhou, King Yu of Zhou, and other absurd monarchs. Zifeng, what else do you have to say? Glancing at the silent Zhang Liang, Fu Nian said in an extremely cold tone, from now on, you are no longer the third master of Confucianism. Fu Nian suddenly said something shocking. His words stunned Yen Lu, Zhang Liang, and Dustless. Then, Fu Nian's gaze fell on Dustless's head. His words made everyone's eyes drop. Zichen, although you are young and illiterate, your knowledge is broad. In the future, you will be the third master of Confucianism. Chapter 1867. Zichen, although you're young and illiterate, you're quite knowledgeable. In the future, you'll be the third master of Confucianism. When he heard this, Dustless felt like his brain wasn't enough to process it. Perhaps Fu Nian was joking with him. The atmosphere was silent for a while. None of the 4 spoke, but Dustless kept staring at Fu Nian. Finally, after a few seconds, he saw that Fu Nian still had a serious expression on his face. He finally confirmed that this guy was serious and definitely not joking. Fu Nian abolished Zhang Liang's position as the third master of Confucianism and promoted Dustless. The affairs of the world are truly unpredictable. Back then, it was Zhang Liang who brought me into Confucianism. Now, my luck has changed, and I've successfully counterattacked. Zhang Liang actually became my stepping stone. Zhang Liang looked at him in disbelief. Not to mention him, even Dustless thought that it was an illusion. From the time he entered Confucianism until today, Dustless had only joined Confucianism for a little more than a rainy day. However, the speed of his promotion made everyone blush with shame, especially now that he had taken Zhang Liang's position as the third master of Confucianism. From Fu Nian's resolute tone and resolute eyes, it could be seen that this wasn't an impulsive decision. Senior brother, Zichen is still young. You can't. As Zhang Liang's good friend, Yen Lu immediately began to support Zhang Liang. Zifeng is in the wrong, but he shouldn't. Enough, second junior brother. With a wave of his hand, Fu Nian stopped Yen Lu from continuing. We are disciples of Confucianism, so we should think for Confucianism. From the moment we joined Confucianism, we were no longer people of the 7 nations. The country doesn't matter to us anymore. Since Zifeng can't see through the past and wants to recover Korea, we can only temporarily take back your position as the third master of Confucianism. It won't be too late to return it to you when you repent. After glancing at Zhang Liang, Fun Yin finally left in a huff. In fact, Fun Yin was forced to do this. He still cared about this junior brother of his. However, the differences between the two were too great. Fun Yin wanted to form an alliance with the Yin-Yang school. In the future, the status of Confucianism would inevitably rise. With the power of Qin, it was only a matter of time before Confucianism flourished. Zhang Liang, on the other hand, wanted to overthrow Qin and recover Korea, which was 1,000 miles away from Fun Yin's plan. In the end, he could only strip Zhang Liang of his identity. This sh*t stir. He's getting his retribution. Wu Chun snickered in his heart as he stared at the absent-minded Zhang Liang. His eyes narrowed into a line, and then he patted Zhang Liang's shoulder before leaving with Fun Yin. Zifeng, you don't have to be sad. I'm just a little angry. When the weather is better, I'll plead for you. Looking at Fun Yin and Wu Chun leaving, Yin Lu said encouragingly, "Don't worry, I'll always be on your side." But it's useless. Hearing this, Zhang Liang could only smile bitterly and sigh in disappointment. I know eldest senior brother's character. He wants to bring Confucianism to greater heights and become the leader of the 100 schools of thought. I can empathize with his thoughts, but neither the Qin Kingdom nor the school of Yin-Yang are the best choices. Why don't we ask Uncle Master Sun for help? Yin Lu's eyes lit up. Uncle Master Sun? Zhang Liang's spirit was lifted. Then, he remembered the special relationship between Dustless and Sun Zi. He shook his head and denied. That's even more impossible. Zichen gave his Yellowstone Heavenly Book to Uncle Master Sun to study. Uncle Master Sun will definitely stand on Zichen's side. And don't forget, Uncle Master Sun was the one who proposed the idea that human nature is evil. How can he overthrow his own theory now? Also, second senior brother, you've forgotten one thing. Uncle Master Sun cultivates both Confucianism and legalism. In history, Sun Zi cultivated both Confucianism and legalism. The current world was no exception. His disciples, Li Si and Han Fei, were the same. As expected, I've let a wolf into my house. How ironic. Looking at Dustless's gradually disappearing back, Zhang Liang looked up at the sky and realized that he had lost everything. The person who brought Dustless into Confucianism was himself, and the person who took away his status today was Dustless. TSK, the third master of Confucianism? It doesn't seem bad. There are no unnecessary, trivial matters to deal with. And there's also an extraordinary identity. It's barely acceptable. Dustless followed behind Fun Yin and did not dislike this identity. The third master of Confucianism did not have any real power and was happy to be at ease. However, in terms of status and identity, it was higher than ordinary Confucian disciples. However, this guy is really cunning. Looking at Fun Yin's deep expression, Dustless smiled but did not say anything. Crippling Zhang Liang was not an impulsive and ignorant act. Fun Yin probably decided to give Dustless the identity of one of the three great families of Confucianism after some contemplation. Dustless was just an ordinary disciple in Confucianism. Other than being powerful, his identity was very ordinary. However, young Master Ming was an elder of the Yin-Yang school. Her identity was not suitable, and it was inevitable that people would gossip. By giving Dustless the identity of the third master, he would also speak up for Confucianism in front of the Yin-Yang school in the future. After thinking for a while, Fun Yin gave the identity of the third master to Dustless. Fun Yin, huh? To be able to become the head of the Confucian school, he is indeed a far-sighted person. Dustless sighed with emotion for a while, and then continued to follow Fun Yin. Although it was only a temporary marriage alliance, both sides had tacitly chosen an auspicious date. The most ridiculous thing was that in the next few days, Confucianism and the Yin-Yang school would arrange for Dustless and young Master Ming to marry, and then the wedding night. This also meant that the two families had completely embarked on the path of an alliance. Chapter 1868. Zhang Liang was definitely the most pitiful person in this matter. Not only was he stripped of his status as one of the three great families, but the most tragic thing was that the person who replaced him as the third head was the rising star, Dustless. The chances of him taking back his status and position was probably zero. Of course, if Zhang Liang was willing to repent and change, Fu Yin might return his status to him. However, Zhang Liang, the third head, would definitely become the fourth head. One day later, in the evening, the stars dotted the sky and the moonlight shone like a plate. The Mulberry Sea was close to the sea, and the scenery at night was pleasant. However, the streets were empty. Not even a ghost appeared, let alone a person. Above the void, there was a large number of mechanical bats flying, monitoring the entire Mulberry Sea. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. At this moment, a black shadow silently flashed by. Because it was so fast, only a faint sound could be heard. Even a shadow could not be seen clearly. It was as fast as lightning. Phew! After staying in the Little Sage Manor for so long, there is indeed something wrong with my head. The fresh air outside is still more suitable for me. A frivolous voice suddenly sounded. Looking closely, that unbelievably fast black shadow was actually Dustless, who had sneaked out for a walk at night. However, Dustless did not come out alone, but had a date with a beauty. You are as fast as always. On top of a tree, a beautiful figure stood steadily on the green leaves. Under the hazy moonlight, her slender and straight purple hair danced in the wind. That cold figure was easy to see. Looking up, it was the Enyang School's young Master Ming. Why did you call me out? Staring at the cold and aloof young Master Ming, Dustless asked in surprise. The person who had asked him out tonight was the Enyang School's young Master Ming. As for why she was entangled, Dustless did not understand. Since he was bored in the Little Sage Manor, he might as well sneak out. Of course there is. Don't forget, we will be getting married in a few days. It is necessary to get to know you. Young Master Ming said in a matter-of-fact tone. Really, she is different from the young Master Ming in my impression. Dustless let out a long sigh. Before he crossed over to this world, Xiaoxi Ming was a quiet girl in his eyes. But now, it seemed that this was not the case. She was quite honest. Of course, it was understandable that Dustless was a special case. Facing other people, young Master Ming remained silent. Speaking of which, if one day you suddenly discovered that your fiancé, that is me, had suddenly become the enemy of your Enyang School, what would you do? Wu Chan changed the topic and asked expectantly. The man who was about to marry Xiaoxi Ming was Zichen, Dustless in disguise. It would only be a matter of time before he was exposed. By then, Dustless and young Master Ming would become enemies again. Why ask such a question? Frowning her shapely eyebrows, Xiaoxi Ming looked at Wu Chun and gave an unexpected answer. Actually, it's not important. The key is your attitude. Attitude? Hearing this, Dustless felt strange. He asked, what do you mean? If you're willing to be loyal to the Enyang School and have no second thoughts, you can naturally turn hostility into friendship. But if you insist on going against the current, you will definitely be crushed. Xiaoxi Ming told him the truth. It is indeed the style of the Enyang School. Dustless smiled, but in his heart, he did not agree. Wanted to be loyal to the Enyang School? That was impossible. It was more likely that the Enyang School would submit to Dustless. But it was undeniable that the Enyang School was a decent sect. They were quite open-minded and willing to take in an enemy. Dong Wang Tai's attitude were indeed extraordinary. Normally, people would torture their captives to obtain useful information. Shoo shoo shoo. Right at this moment, an unusual weak ripple appeared in the air. Dustless also clearly felt an unusual bone-piercing coldness. Countless beams of cold light came from afar. They seemed to be some kind of sharp weapon like darts. However, what was strange was that those darts ignored Dustless, who was close to them, and went straight for young Master Ming, who was even further away. Sneak attack. Squinting his eyes, Dustless saw a few figures appear in the air. The first person that came to his mind was Zhang Liang, who was very concerned about this matter. The Confucian School and the Enyang School working together was the most harmful to him. It was normal for this kid to want to kill Xiao Ximing. It doesn't seem to be Zhang Liang. Looking over, Dustless frowned and found that they were all unfamiliar faces. He thought it was Wei Zhuang's Lu Sha. Who would have thought that they were just passers-by? Shoo shoo shoo. Facing the incoming sharp weapon, young Master Ming calmly and gracefully tiptoed against the ground, easily dodging the incoming dark silhouette. Buzz, buzz, buzz. Not only that, Xiao Ximing immediately launched a counterattack. Countless green leaves came from all directions and condensed into a long green leaf whip according to Xiao Ximing's will. Xiao Ximing, don't kill these assassins. They still have some use. I want to see who is so daring to sneak attack us in the middle of the night. With a sinister smile, Wu Qin's left eye suddenly turned into a dark purple reincarnation Sharingan. 9 dark and mysterious Magatama hung above the eye socket. It looked very strange and neither fish nor fowl. Are you ordering me? Young Master Ming glanced at Wu Qin discontentedly, then snorted as if she didn't like it. However, the power in her hand was reduced, and the number of green leaves under her control was also reduced. Her power had decreased drastically. Chapter 1869. Wu Qin didn't say anything. He quietly looked at the attacking shadows. These assassins seemed to be skilled in their methods. Their cooperation was just right. Originally, everyone's strength was ordinary. However, after several of them cooperated with each other, the strength they displayed was amazing. Although it wasn't as exaggerated as the 6 sword slaves, it was enough to match an ordinary expert. Wu Qin stood still like a statue. This kind of thing could be left to young Master Ming. There was no need for him to get involved. He just needed to watch silently. If they aren't assassins sent by Zhang Liang, then who could it be? Dustless lowered his head and thought. Looking at the eyes of these assassins, his heart was slightly moved. Most of them looked ferocious, and their eyes were filled with determination and madness. These people seemed to be professional death warriors. The Mahist family deeply believes in the way of chivalry. The Mahist family wouldn't do something like training death warriors. Dustless rubbed his chin as he thought. His eyes were shining brightly. After spending some time with the Mahist family, he knew what kind of people they were. The Mahist family and the Confucian family were 2 of the most prominent schools in the world. The disciples of the Mahist family who were proficient in martial arts were called Mahist heroes. They followed the principle of love with impartiality, non-aggression, and were good at the construction of mechanisms. The disciples of the Mahist family were chivalrous and often used the Mahist family's secret techniques to defend the cities of other countries. They were the epitome of chivalry. Therefore, the chances of training these death warriors were very slim. Compared to them, Dustless squinted his eyes and guessed, these death warriors are like killing machines. They seem to be members of Zhao Gao's trap. Bang! An assassin was sent flying by Xiao Ximing's whip and landed beside Dustless's feet, spitting out blood. Yo, can you tell me who sent you? Seeing the assassin land beside his feet, Dustless greeted him with a smile. This idiot. Seeing this, the corners of Xiao Ximing's mouth twitched under the veil. You think he will tell you just because you asked him to? Do you think these assassins are children? Just because you gave them a piece of candy, they would run around in circles. Every one of them has a deadly poison in their teeth. If they fail the mission, they will drink the poison and commit suicide. The chances of capturing them alive are 0. If you want to ask them, hurry up. A faint energy ripple appeared around them, and Xiao Ximing slowly descended from the sky. Hee. Not bad. The death warrior who landed beside Dustless's feet laughed sinisterly. His face was purple. Obviously, he was poisoned. But the only pity, I didn't drag you 2 to hell. You, Xiao Ximing, Xiao Ximing, Xiao Ximing's, Xiao Ximing, Xiao Ximing, Xiao Ximing. Seeing that this person was so stubborn, Wu Qin didn't bother to talk nonsense. He grabbed his head with his right hand and activated Rinnegan's eye power and began to extract his memory. What Xiao Ti? Seeing the evil Sharingan in Dustless's left eye, Xiao Ming's body trembled unnaturally. She subconsciously looked away with a pale face. She felt uneasy when she looked into those mysterious eyes. Her heart felt like it was going to jump out of her chest. The hair all over her body stood on end, as if she had met her mortal enemy. TSK, it is indeed that sinister Zhao Gao and Li Si. The ability of these two to collude with each other is indeed extraordinary. After a long while, Dustless softly muttered as he revealed the mastermind behind the scene. Zhao Gao and Li Si, aren't they on our side? Xiao Ming slightly raised her eyebrows, opened her cherry lips, looked at Dustless suspiciously and asked, "Did you make a mistake? The Yinyang school is an ally of the state of Qin." Allies? It was too comical. There were no absolute allies in this world. Only those who can benefit from each other can be regarded as true allies. The Yinyang school and the Qin state can only be regarded as using each other. Moreover, Zhao Gao and Li Si are extremely treacherous. The people they scam are their allies. Dustless said frankly. Zhao Gao and Li Si were both famous treacherous officials. Didn't Fu Su die because of them? It was undeniable that Zhao Gao was a treacherous official, but Li Si was a person with mixed reputation. This person did have extraordinary ability. Being able to become the prime minister of the state of Qin showed that Li Si was extraordinary. But as the saying goes, no one is perfect. Li Si also had his own goals and selfishness. Therefore, in the end, he and Zhao Gao caused the death of Fu Su and Meng Tian. Zhang Liang is an ally of the Mo family, right? But when the Mo family was in the mechanical city, he did nothing as he watched the Mo family's disciples get slaughtered by Wei Zhuan. Is this what an ally is? Dustless's words made Xiao Ming speechless. She could only look at the former in a daze. In short, allies are used to scam and betray. What you said seems to make some sense. After a moment of silence, Xiao Ming nodded as if she understood. In fact, she was not good at scheming. She was more concerned about her own strength. Zhao Gao and Li Si really put in a lot of effort to destroy the alliance between the Yinyang school and the Confucian school. But this is normal, although their actions are too stupid and are no different from seeking death. Since the heavens let them live in this world, they have the right to struggle. The weak are innocent, but if he wants to recklessly challenge someone stronger than him, then he's courting death. Dustless's eyes surged with red light. He turned into a wild beast that chose people to devour. Xiao Ming's chest tightened several times. Strange, suddenly, Xiao Ming thought of something. She stared at Dustless's left eye a few times and muttered to herself, "This guy's eye. I think I heard that someone from the Yinyang school had seen it before." Chapter 1870. It was no wonder that Xiao Ming felt a sense of déjà vu. When Dustless beat up Xing Hun, he had used the Sharingan, and Xing Hun had reminded the school of Yinyang about it. However, there had been too many things recently, especially the fact that she was about to marry Zi Chun of the Confucian school. Xiao Ming's heart was in a mess, so she didn't remember it. Pointing at the assassin whose head Dustless had grabbed, Xiao Ming asked calmly, "You can search other people's memories?" "That's right." Wu Chen nodded calmly and told him bluntly, "After I extract his memory, he will completely die. The consequence of his soul being damaged is quite serious. If he is lucky, he will become an idiot. If he is unlucky, he will go to hell to report." "I see." Hearing this, Xiao Ming nodded slightly. She couldn't help but stare at Wu Chen in astonishment. She truly felt that this Confucian disciple was too strange. Almost everything he knew was heterodox and unorthodox, but he didn't know anything about the Confucian school's literary attainments. "I heard that you became the third head of the Confucian school of Yinyang?" Xiao Ming suddenly asked with a hint of concern in her voice. "Don't be fooled by the Confucian school of Yinyang. The Mahis are all traitors, and the Confucians are not good people either. I should be the one saying that to you." Dustless rolled his eyes. Compared to the Mahists and Confucians, the school of Yinyang was just as strange. You should be wary of Xiao Ming. Of course, Xiao Ming's words made sense. The school of Yinyang and the school of Yinyang both had their own ambitions. They just had different standpoints. Dustless didn't care who was right and who was wrong. Speaking of which, what memories did you see? Seeing the faint smile on Dustless's face, Xiao Ming couldn't help but ask curiously, could it be Zhao Gao and Li Si's big secret? Something like that. Dustless nodded and sneered. They just want to kill one of us and force the school of Yinyang and the school of Yinyang to turn against each other. Li Si and Zhang Liang's goal was similar to Zhang Liang's. Are you mistaken? This kind of thing doesn't benefit them. Young Ximing couldn't figure it out no matter how hard she thought about it. This kind of thankless task didn't seem to benefit Zhao Gao at all. It's right that you don't understand. It has something to do with the power disputes within the Qin kingdom. Dustless paused for a moment. After sorting out his thoughts, he said, the school of Yinyang and the Confucian school have a good impression of young Master Fu Su. In the future battle for the throne of the empire, Li Si and Zhao Gao are afraid that we will side with young Master Fu Su. If both the school of Yinyang and the Confucian school supported Fu Su, then there was no need for the others to fight for the throne. Fu Su was already appreciated by Ying Zheng, and if he had the support of the school of Yinyang and the Confucian school as well, then the others would be finished. However, Zhao Gao and Li Si had another candidate in mind. Hu Hai. It's normal for you to be confused if you don't understand. Voidless looked at the confused young Master Ming. She probably didn't understand what he was saying at all. Are you looking down on me again? Hearing this, a faint look of anger appeared on Xiao Ming's calm face. She seemed to be very dissatisfied with Dustless's attitude. His casual and frivolous tone clearly showed that he was looking down on her. Again? What did I look down on you? And why did you use the word again? It makes it sound like I've looked down on you many times. Dustless smiled embarrassedly and changed the topic. Anyway, Li Si won't let the Confucian school and the school of Yinyang form an alliance. After the two schools form an alliance, their strength will be too strong, and it will threaten Li Si and Zhao Gao's position. You have to be careful in the future. You're looking down on me again. Xiao Ming pouted, looking very dissatisfied with Dustless. It's because you don't think I'm strong enough that you told me to be careful. If this isn't looking down on me, then what is? Don't try to deny it. This girl, I thought she didn't like to talk? She's quite eloquent. Wu Qin couldn't help but be dumbfounded. Xiao Ming's words made him speechless. Frankly speaking, young Master Ming's current performance was completely different from what he had expected. There was a huge difference. That's not bad. It's better than being a mute who never talks. Looking at Xiao Ming's delicate face, Dustless smiled and felt relieved. He asked, why are you looking for me in the middle of the night? Don't tell me, you're just here to chat. Lord Dongwang invites you to the Mirage for a chat. Looking at Dustless, Xiao Ming said, it's getting late. Come with me. I knew you're not here for a date. Dustless hummed and looked very unhappy. He asked impatiently, that Dongwang Tai? It's Lord Dongwang. Before Dustless could finish his nonsense, Xiao Ming interrupted him and said seriously, calling Dongwang by his name has serious consequences. It's disrespectful. It's none of my business. I'm not a disciple of the school of Yinyang. Dustless didn't care. No matter how mysterious and powerful Dongwang Tai was, he was just an ordinary person. Was there a need to respect him like a god? Besides, God knows how many gods have died in my hands, let alone Dongwang Tai. Dustless snorted in his mind. He didn't care about Dongwang Tai at all. Instead, he felt that Xiao Ming and the others had been brainwashed. Why is the leader of the school of Yinyang looking for me? Following Xiao Ming, Dustless asked out of boredom, are you trying to persuade me to join the school of Yinyang? There's no need to do that. Xiao Ming replied indifferently. She glanced at Dustless and said, you should know that after you and I get married, you'll be half a member of the school of Yinyang. Ancient women are so obedient. The 3 obedience and 4 virtues are so good. Dustless murmured to himself. The school of Yinyang simply ordered Xiao Ming and Dustless to get married. She didn't resist at all and accepted everything. If it was in his previous era, it would be unimaginable. Chapter 1871. Come to think of it, Dong Wang Tai is on the Mirage. Dustless looked up at the sky. Even with the black night sky, he could still see the horizon clearly. The giant ship docked on the sea was especially clear in his eyes. What's the matter? Dustless looked at young Master Ming with a confused expression. To be honest, he didn't know Dong Wang Tai, the most mysterious being in the world. Dustless knew very little about him, but from young Master Ming's tone, it wasn't hard to tell that Dong Wang Tai was looking forward to meeting Dustless. Aren't you afraid that I'll harm you? After walking for a few minutes, young Master Ming suddenly turned around and looked at Dustless, who was deep in thought, and said coldly, "Maybe this is a trap. Everyone on the Mirage is from the school of Yin Yang." So what? Hearing this, Wu Chun just replied with a flat question as if nothing had happened, and his light tone was completely filled with confidence and calmness that caused others to admire him. The school of Yin Yang had 5 elders, 2 guardians, and the mysterious Dong Wang Tai. This magnificent lineup was enough to make all the other sects pale in comparison. Even an expert like Gania would die if he was surrounded by these experts. But Dustless wasn't afraid. Actually, I want to take a look at the Mirage too. Dustless's eyes turned slightly as he made a plan in his mind. I can use this opportunity to sneak into the Mirage and take Shilan's brother away from Yun Zhongjuan. Shilan was poisoned last time because she went into the Mirage alone. I can use this opportunity to take Shilan's brother away. You're quite brave. Young Master Ming turned around and smiled faintly. She continued to lead Dustless forward. No one wanted the person they were about to marry to be an incompetent idiot who was afraid of everything. Dustless's fearless spirit might seem brainless, but young Master Ming admired it. He was much better than those men who were afraid in the face of a big problem. Instead of calling the Mirage a ship, it was more appropriate to call it a floating city on the sea. Its unprecedented size filled up the entire eyeball, and one couldn't even see the end of it. It was simply too big. At this moment, on the Mirage, Dustless looked at the unprecedented giant ship in shock. His eyes were a little dazed. The Mirage built by the Gongshu family's mechanism art combined with the Yin Yang school's mechanism art is indeed beyond imagination. At first glance, what came into Wu Chi's eyes were countless pavilions, terraces, and pagodas. Perhaps they were built by Ing Zheng as a palace on the ocean, and the formation was extremely exaggerated. Dustless snuck into the Mirage alone to discuss with Great Si Ming and Moon God. He didn't pay much attention to the surroundings, but now that he had young Si Ming with him, he couldn't help but admire Gong Shu Chao's intelligence. "Are you finally here? You made me wait for so long." Dustless furrowed his brows as his gaze swept over to the source of the voice. What entered his vision was Xing Hun, who was standing with his hands clasped behind his back. "Don't speak in such a tone. I'm afraid others will misunderstand." Dustless shook his finger with an expression that said, "I'm not familiar with you." "Misunderstand? What misunderstand?" Xing Hun didn't understand what Dustless was talking about and looked at him in confusion. "I'm afraid others will say that my sexual orientation is abnormal." With that, Dustless left with young Si Ming, ignoring Xing Hun's pale face. Dustless thought that young Si Ming would bring him directly to see Dong Wang Tai, but instead, she brought him to a room with a nice environment. "It's getting late. I'll bring you to see His Excellency Dong Wang tomorrow. Tonight, you can rest here. I'll be staying next door. Just look for me if you need anything." As soon as she finished speaking, young Si Ming was about to leave. Gosh, that Dong Wang Tai is really good at putting on airs. Seeing young Si Ming leaving and heading next door, Dustless mumbled to himself. Then, he closed the door decisively and left a shadow clone to replace him. As for his real body, he went to look for Great Si Ming. Anyway, Dustless had left the Flying Thunder God Warlock on Great Si Ming a long time ago. Although the elusive Mirage was huge, finding Great Si Ming was just a matter of thought. In the misty room, a few naked figures could be vaguely seen. They were hidden in the mist, and their snow-white bodies made one's imagination run wild. I can't figure out what they're planning. Why would the school of Yin-Yang ally with the Confucian school? Now, young Si Ming is going to marry Dustless. What is Dong Wang Tai trying to do? Great Si Ming soaked in the water lazily. His rosy cheeks were filled with confusion. He was a little jealous of young Si Ming. Although he had become Dustless's woman, they were not officially married. Now that young Si Ming had gotten to him first, great Si Ming was jealous. I don't know. Moon God also shook her head. What was Dong Wang Tai thinking? She could not figure it out no matter how hard she tried. Beside Moon God was a pretty girl. She was swimming around in the hot spring. Sometimes, she would let out a pleasant laugh. She was Moon Goddess. Plop. At this moment, the peaceful atmosphere was suddenly broken. A black figure suddenly flew out of the void and fell into the hot spring under the shocked gazes of Moon Goddess, Great Si Ming, and Moon Goddess. Gosh, people from the school of Yin-Yang are really extravagant to be able to soak in a hot spring on the ship. Wu Chun, who had fallen into the water, finally managed to climb out of the water to catch his breath. He looked up and saw 3 naked bodies. Yue Shun, Great Si Ming, and Yu Er were all staring at him without moving. If I said I didn't do it on purpose, you would believe me, right? Chapter 1872. Dustless was embarrassed. He did not expect Great Si Ming to be taking a bath and to be soaking in the hot spring with Yue Xin and Yu Er. Who would have thought that there would be a hot spring above the elusive mirage? It was too extravagant in terms of technology in this era. If you continue to stare at us, I might really be bothered. Yue Xin's tone was calm as she tried her best to maintain her composure. However, if one were to look closely, they would notice that Yue Xin's mouth was twitching. This fella, such a crooked trick. There's nothing special about it. Yue Xin used to admire Dustless when she knew that Dustless could use such a heaven-defying trick like the Flying Thunder God. However, she was filled with disdain now. Such a vulgar move was simply rotten to the core. Cough, cough. I'm sorry. Dustless smiled awkwardly and retracted his gaze awkwardly. With his back facing the 3 ladies, he said, "The 3 of you should go and put on your clothes. It won't be good if someone sees you." Wu Chun was actually feeling frustrated as well. He had never thought that Great Si Ming would be bathing at this moment and that he would be implicated as an innocent person. "Brother Dustless," a crisp voice entered his ears. Dustless was stunned for a moment before he turned around to look. Yue. With a bright smile, Dustless rubbed the little girl's head and asked with concern, "How's life above the elusive mirage? Are you bored?" "Sister Yue Shun is very nice to me. Sister Great Si Ming is the same. They all play with me." Yue blinked her eyes and smiled contentedly. As Dustless had informed Yue Shun beforehand, Yue Shun and the rest were even more protective of Yue. "Why? Do you think that we'll torture Qianlong?" Great Si Ming and Yue Xin had put on their clothes again. The one who spoke was Great Si Ming. The 2 of them only put on a layer of clothes to prevent themselves from being exposed. However, this gauze that was as thin as a cicada's wing was nothing to Dustless. It couldn't be helped. Dustless had all kinds of eye techniques, so his eyesight was ridiculously good. Even the filthy deep sea was clear to him at a glance. What's more, it was just a thin layer of muslin. "Of course I trust the 2 of you." Dustless looked at Moon God in Great Si Ming's eyes and tried his best not to look at their naked bodies. "You 2 know Yue Er's uniqueness better than I do. Some necessary precautions are unavoidable. So in your heart, we're not even as important as a little girl." A slightly jealous voice suddenly sounded. If it was Great Si Ming who said this, Dustless would not be an exception. After all, he had already done that kind of thing with Great Si Ming. But if it was the Moon God, this guy, did he take the wrong medicine? Dustless stared at the Moon God in astonishment. He thought she was just joking because she was bored. "Moon God, what's the result of the investigation I asked you to do?" Dustless asked bluntly. "Does Yun Zhongjuan have the ability to refine the elixir of immortality?" Dustless did not dawdle. After asking the question, he had to go back and rest. It would be bad if young Si Ming noticed something wrong. This moon god hesitated for a moment and then said, based on the current situation, it should be possible. Otherwise, Ingzheng would not spend so much time on Yun Zhongjuan. You're right. Dustless nodded thoughtfully. Ingzheng was a very smart emperor. He would never do something that was strenuous and unrewarding. He was willing to spend a lot of resources on Yun Zhongjuan because he had nothing better to do. Right? Dustless's eyes lit up. A peerless beauty suddenly appeared in his mind. Her graceful body circled around Dustless's mind. He could not get rid of her figure forever. It was as if she had left a mark on his soul. Brother Dustless, can you help me save my mother? Before Dustless could speak, Yuer's pitiful voice came first. You mean Concubine Yin? The figure in Dustless's mind was, in fact, Concubine Yin. Concubine Yin? A strange ripple flashed across the moon god's expressionless face. Her originally gentle face suddenly turned cloudy and cold. Dustless could not help but raise his eyebrows. He thought to himself, I've heard that the moon god and concubine Yin are not on good terms. There's a great grudge between them. Now it seems to be true. Actually, I also want to ask why concubine Yin was suddenly released. If I remember correctly, she should have been locked up by Dong Wangtai. Staring at the moon god and great Si Ming, Dustless was filled with questions. We don't know the details either. The moon god and great Si Ming looked at each other and shook their heads. Although one of them was a guardian of the school of Yinyang, and the other was one of the 5 great elders of the school of Yinyang, they were not omnipotent. At least one thing is certain. Dong Wangtai and concubine Yin must have some kind of secret agreement. The moon god, who was of a higher status than great Si Ming, obviously knew more. She continued, ever since Xinghan was severely injured by you, Dong Wangtai released concubine Yin. I think he is targeting you. But it's really ironic. At the end, the moon god's lips curled into a self-mocking smile. She secretly sighed that the school of Yinyang might really be on the decline. This Zi Chun in front of her was actually Dustless in disguise. Dustless appeared in the school of Yinyang's base. Ironically, no one noticed anything wrong with him. That's because my disguise technique is profound, great Si Ming interrupted with a smile. His tone was filled with pride and arrogance. She was in charge of Dustless's disguise. Brother Dustless, you will help Yuer save my mother, right? Yuer pulled Dustless's right hand and rubbed it against her face. She looked at him with puppy eyes. You are so adorable. After sighing, Dustless hesitated for a moment before he agreed. I was the one who sent you to the school of Yinyang. You have been living alone in the Mirage Tower. It must have been hard on you. I will help you save your mother this time. Consider it my compensation to you. Chapter 1873. Dustless did not mind saving concubine Yin since she would not be a hindrance to him. Do you have any other questions? If not, I will leave now. Young Master Ming is staying next door to me. If she finds out anything, it will be troublesome. Dustless frowned and was about to leave. You could just kill her. Great Si Ming added fuel to the fire and said, Are you going to return her to you? Don't tell me you are not her match, or... At this point, Great Si Ming walked around Wu Chun with a faint smile on his face. When he saw the latter's awkward expression, he said slowly, Could it be that you really have feelings for young Si Ming? Don't be fooled by her beauty. She has thorns. Eastern Emperor Tai must have a motive for ordering the marriage between young Master Ming and the Confucian school. Moon Goddess agreed softly and said worriedly, Killing her is the best choice. Kill young Master Ming? Dustless showed a serious expression on his face, but he was very relaxed in his heart. It was not hard to tell that he was just brushing off Moon Goddess and Great Si Ming. No matter what, I am a top-notch expert who has traversed countless dimensions. If I can't even take down young Master Ming, it will be a joke. After nagging for a while, Dustless disappeared from Moon Goddess and Great Si Ming's eyes. Damn it, which room is it? In the dead silent corridor, Dustless looked at the rows of rooms in front of him in frustration. He looked around and did not move for a long time. Dustless tragically realized that all the rooms were exactly the same. For a moment, he forgot where he was staying. It should be this room. Dustless looked at the cut on the ground and muttered. It was made by Kanai and was used to locate the spatial coordinates. Creak. The door was pushed open gently, but the scene that greeted him almost blinded Dustless. Are you changing your clothes? Young Master Si Ming's naked body entered his eyes. Her curvaceous body was in full view. She had the golden ratio without any excess fat. Although young Master Si Ming had a cold personality, her body could make one's blood boil. In fact, in some areas, she was even better than great Si Ming, who had already had sex with Dustless. Dustless's mind was in a trance as he looked at her pure and seductive body. Have you seen enough? The same cold voice came out from young Master Ming's throat. However, it was different from before, as it was slightly trembling. It was not hard to see that young Master Ming's heart was extremely complicated. Ahem, I'm sorry. Dustless reluctantly lowered his head, looked at the floor, and said, I want to go to the toilet. It's almost the same here. I can't find a place, so I came to trouble you. Who knew? I'm really sorry. Dustless apologized again and found an extremely awkward excuse to deal with it. But Xiao Ximing wasn't sure if she would believe it or not. Just go out and turn left for 50 steps. After saying this calmly, Xiao Ximing's voice stopped again. Dustless turned his head slightly and stole a glance at Xiao Ximing. She had already changed into a white coat, which was almost the same as what Yueshan and Great Ximing had said. In Dustless's eyes, it was as if it was transparent. Strange. After walking out of young Master Ming's bedroom, Dustless said without hesitation, the Kanai was clearly placed at the door. Why did it enter young Master Ming's room? Did I remember wrongly? His mind was like paste, overturning the sky and the earth. It was a mess. Forget it, I'll go to sleep. Suddenly, Dustless stopped walking. He turned around and walked towards his room, but Xiao Ximing blocked his way. You're lying to me. After observing Dustless for a while, Xiao Ximing said slowly, Didn't you notice the difference in the room just now? Dustless fell silent. He really didn't notice anything. All the rooms in the Mirage were the same. What difference could there be? The room you saw me changing my clothes in was actually your own room. Xiao Ximing said something shocking, and her eyes were filled with shrewdness. No wonder. I told you Dustless couldn't have placed the Kanai in the wrong place. Dustless's confusion was suddenly solved. When he opened his mouth to argue, Xiao Ximing's beautiful voice made Dustless pause. He had to swallow the words that were about to come out of his mouth. You must have sneaked out just now, right? And I also smell the unique scent from your body. It's very similar to the faint scent of Yueshan. And Xiao Ximing squinted her eyes and continued. There are still water stains on your clothes that haven't been dried yet. There's no water around. If it's tea, it must have the scent of tea. Unfortunately, it's not. Don't you want to explain it to me? This woman who always looks like she doesn't know anything about the world is actually very shrewd. It's the complete opposite of her naive face. Dustless was secretly shocked. He fell into the water just now, and when he came back, his body was still wet. He had to use chakra to evaporate a large amount of water stains, but his clothes were still wet. As for the scent of Yueshan, Dustless didn't know. Maybe it was because he accidentally touched it when he fell into the water just now. If you don't give me a reasonable explanation... Explanation? What explanation? Dustless had an idea. He immediately started to pester endlessly. He said angrily, You people from the school of Inyang really don't know etiquette. That woman called Yueshan actually took me away to investigate. How dare you? And I was afraid that you would be worried, so I purposely hid that I was sleeping. Now you're looking at me with such a betraying gaze. Xiao Ximing, you're so unreasonable. I'm so sad. I'll just divorce you. You're tuning in to the Romance Rendezvous YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.